How do I, 41F, deal with unexpected jealousy over my ex-husband's, 42M, new girlfriend? My 41F, ex-husband, 42M, and I divorced when our son was 7. Fast forward to now, our son's 15, 16 in a few months. Somehow we managed to go from divorced and done to actually being pretty good friends. Like, we choose to hang out sometimes, not only when it involves our son, and we get along better than ever. It's worked out way better than I ever expected. My ex has started seeing someone new. They've been together for a little while now, but it started to get more serious lately. I've met her, but don't know her well. My son is around her a lot more than I am and he likes her a lot. I hate that this bothers me. Like, I'm genuinely embarrassed by how irritated I felt hearing him say how nice she is, how fun she is, how she makes his dad happy. I plastered on a smile and said all the right things, but inside I was surprised by how jealous I felt. She doesn't like that my ex and I are friends. She's fine with us communicating for our son, but the idea of us hanging out just because we want to is an absolute no in her book. And he started to pull back a little. He's not saying it out loud, but I can tell he's trying to adjust our dynamic to keep the peace in his new relationship. It stings. Months ago we planned a special trip for our son's 16th birthday, just the three of us. It was meant to be a shared memory, a kind of family-ish experience to mark a big milestone. It revolves around something my son is obsessed with, something my ex and I both enjoy too. But now the girlfriend's coming. Despite having no interest in the activity, I found out from my son, not my ex, which made it even worse. I haven't confronted him about it yet because I don't know how to bring it up without sounding jealous or possessive. But I'm honestly upset. It feels like a sacred little space that used to belong to the three of us is slowly being taken over. And I feel helpless to stop it without looking like the crazy ex-wife who can't let go. I didn't expect to feel this jealous, and I really don't want to come off as the crazy ex. But honestly, it feels like I'm losing way more than just a friendship here. I've worked really hard to be mature, supportive, and emotionally steady in this co-parenting journey. How do I manage these feelings without making it weird or damaging the progress we've all made? And how do I set boundaries, if I even can, without turning this into a drama-filled mess? Some notable comments. Commenter 1. In some sense, you've been living in a bubble, where the idea of uninterrupted family persisted even through separation and divorce. It was only sustainable as long as nobody else was in the picture. Every situation is different, of course, but as a general thing, if relationships tolerate being amicable with exes for the purpose of shared children, tolerance tends to fade when those children aren't directly involved. The exclusive family unit isn't so exclusive anymore. Time doesn't stand still, as much as you've wanted it to. In situations where exes are so involved in each other's lives, if there comes a point when one needs to pull back, there's often a second sting. There was a separation, a divorce, now the palpable reality of your ex getting serious with someone else. Ask yourself something. When is the best time to let go? Then. Now. Sometime later when the weight of that reality becomes too much. If this brings more heartache no matter what, is it best to sever that imaginary cord now or wait until it stretches and snaps anyway? Commenter 2. My husband and his ex-wife weren't necessarily friends, but before I came along she definitely was incredibly comfortable with their dynamic, which was she basically got the emotional benefits of him as a husband, friendship, support, favors, coming over to her house to watch the kids, without having to deal with the relationship issues. It didn't bother me really that much initially. I think it's a green flag when you start dating a guy who doesn't hate his ex, but once I started taking over that emotional space for him it seemed to really bend her out of shape. It's all fine now, but there was definitely a power struggle, and my stepson would tell me how confused he was by his mom not seeming to like hearing how he liked me. He was little and didn't really get it, since he thought I was nice. One thing that's important to know is you're not the one that needs to set boundaries here unless it's around your kid. That's totally reasonable, but only in regard to his well-being and safety. She is definitely the one that I guarantee you is struggling with the boundary setting. Imagine you're dating a new guy, things are great but there's some weird tie to the ex-wife. It's just not natural, and everyone can be friendly and support each other without being besties. I think you've been benefiting from this relationship in an unnatural way for a while, you both have, and there's nothing wrong with grieving the situation at all. Take your time, until your emotional brain catches up with the logic. People move on and they have to make their partners their center, and it's not a normal state of being to have your ex be your central friendship. It's also important to note that your son is grown, she is definitely not coming in as a new mommy. Once my husband's ex realized that I got the fact that her kids had a mom and I wasn't interested in being anything other than a bonus adult in their life that cared about them and there to help facilitate a good co-parenting relationship when I could, things seemed to really fall into place. It's normal to wish something good wouldn't change, but this is something that definitely should change if it means you both get to meet and be with your people. Downvoted comments of me. I don't really think it makes sense for her to come on this trip. I think she's coming to chaperone us, because we're going to do something together with our son in the hotel room. To provide a bit more background on the trip that might make it sound a little less weird. We didn't really intend to plan a trip for the purpose of going on a trip together, originally. A band we love is reuniting, and while we've both seen them before, in fact, 20 years ago when we were a new couple, this is our son's first chance to see them. So, that's why the trip is happening, and it happens to be happening right around our son's birthday, so we're celebrating his birthday as part of the trip too. I genuinely have not been hoping this will spark something. Sure, that was 20 years ago when we saw them together last time, has been screwing with my mind lately, and I still remember the date of the very first concert we went to together, but I think it's more of the focus on all the time that's passed and how it feels impossible for that to have been 2 decades ago rather than a focus on anything happening between us again. I'm not going for the sake of reliving a memory we shared together. That's not the purpose of me going. She's coming along, but she's not coming to the concert. Guess she'll wait for us at the hotel or find something else to do in the meantime. There's no way she's getting my ticket. I've loved this band for nearly 3 decades, before I even met my ex-husband. She didn't even know who they were. Sorry, there's nothing that would make me offer her my ticket so they could all go have a great time together. It must make sense to my ex-husband for the 3 of us to go together since he never even asked me if I wanted to. It was just naturally assumed from the beginning that we'd be going and he bought the 3 of us tickets. Update: how do I, 41F, deal with unexpected jealousy over my ex-husband's, 42M, new girlfriend? At the beginning of June I asked for help with navigating these feelings I have regarding my son, my ex-husband, his new GF. Thanks to everyone who replied. Even though I don't think I got a ton of specific, actionable advice, I got a lot of opinions and some solid advice. I definitely heard the recurring message loud and clear: therapy. Some of the comments were genuinely helpful in nudging me to start unpacking the root of what I'm actually feeling, so I appreciate that. Will I go to therapy right now? Honestly, probably not immediately, but we'll see. Most of all of the issues are things I just need to work through on my own, but I decided to just ask my ex-husband directly about the whole concert birthday trip situation. I told him that our son had mentioned his girlfriend is now coming on the trip, and I needed clarity about what the plan was so I could figure out hotel stuff. I kept it as neutral and non-confrontational as possible. Truthfully, I don't want her to come and I'm still sort of seething over her being there. He admitted he hadn't told me yet because he was still hoping she'd back out. He said he doesn't want her to come, that it's going to make things awkward, and that she kind of inserted herself into the plan and made it really clear she expected to be invited. He felt like he couldn't say no without it hurting their relationship. He even said, "You think I want to go on a trip with both of you?" I suggested that maybe I should give her my concert ticket and buy a separate one so I wouldn't have to sit near them and she wouldn't have to stay back at the hotel. Or maybe I should just plan to take my son to a completely different date on the tour altogether since it was probably going to be very awkward for all of us, especially since he was now claiming he also didn't want her to come. I don't want to buy a ticket and sit separately. I don't want to plan a whole other trip to a different tour date. The thought makes me really mad, but I felt like the adult thing to do was to at least suggest it. Maybe I just wanted to see what his reaction would be. He immediately said there was no way I was giving my ticket to her or sitting separately. He said there's no way I'm backing out or going to a different show. We've been planning this for almost a year. We did agree to cancel the shared hotel room and book separate rooms. I didn't bring up the fact that his girlfriend isn't thrilled with us spending time together. I feel like that's something I just need to accept. Most people in new relationships with someone who has a close relationship with an ex would probably feel the same. It's uncomfortable, but I get it, and I'll deal with those feelings on my own. What's hardest for me, though, is how much I still default to texting or talking to him. We used to talk daily, not just about things related to our son, but everything. He's been my best friend for over 20 years. And before anyone jumps in and says I sound like the obsessive ex calling him that, he said the same about me. I haven't had another best friend in a really long time. I had 2 close girlfriends years ago. Both of those friendships are long gone, not due to any sort of falling out but due to reasons I don't want to get into here. Since then, I've struggled to find another close female friend, someone I really connect with on that deeper level. I have friends, just nobody like that. I'd say my ex-husband is the person I'm most myself with and the person I'm closest to in the world. So yeah, my ex is still that person and I'm starting to realize that while I don't want him back romantically, I do still see him as mine. Not in a possessive, malicious way, but in that I think I've just never fully adjusted to him being someone with a life completely separate from mine. It's like he's still a character in my story, not somebody with an entire life of his own. I'm also trying to take the advice of getting to know his girlfriend, while also trying not to over-involve myself in their lives. I don't want to become best friends with my ex-husband's girlfriend. That just sounds uncomfortable to me. I spent some time over at his house today and she was there. They don't live together, yet. He watched my dog for me overnight because I had a work event to go to. Well, it's my son's dog too, so the dog basically went over to his dad's with him. They have a splash pad for the dogs over there, so we were playing around with the dogs in the backyard. He starts asking me things like, top 5 albums of all time, go. Then we get into a friendly argument about our favorite albums, which evolved into top 5 guitarists, etc., and these are the things we get along about. I suddenly got the sense that she was not happy about our conversation since she doesn't seem to care about those things and couldn't participate in the conversation. I tried to steer the conversation in another direction so that she wasn't left out, but I'm terrible at making small talk. I decided to make my excuses to politely leave at that point. So now I guess it's just a matter of figuring out how you start emotionally detaching from someone who's been my closest person for so long, especially when you still co-parent and have to interact regularly. How do I detach? I never detached after we got divorced, even though I thought I had. Some notable comments. Commenter 1. I read your first post and I can't remember if I commented on it or not. After reading this update, a few thoughts as someone who hasn't been in your position or the girlfriend's position. I'd be pissed if I was the girlfriend and found out my boyfriend actually didn't want me to go in this trip, was hoping he could talk me out of it, and had shared those feelings with his ex-wife that he's way too close to. I think you're either still in love with your ex-husband, have fallen back in love with him, or don't love him romantically but still can't stand the thought of anyone else but you having him. You either need to tell him how you feel or seek therapy to deal with your possessive feelings. It may partially apply to your ex as well. Why has it taken either of you so long to get back into a serious relationship with somebody new? His relationship won't last long if he continues to prioritize you over his girlfriend. Now whether that's a good thing or bad thing depends on who you ask. Commenter 2. I remember your original post and commented on it. Having been in the GF's shoes to some extent, it really does feel like the ex-wife is peeing on things to mark territory when they bring up old memories or make comments like, look what beautiful kids we made, or whatever. Even if you're not marking territory on purpose, it can come off that way. Like GF, or in my case, second wife, is just a third wheel and sister wife. I think that this is ultimately an ex-husband issue with his boundaries though. If he's saying he didn't want her to come, why did he let her? Because he's conflict averse. On the other hand, I think that at some point you two have to actually act divorced and stop planning family time. There are going to be holidays and graduations and maybe weddings in your not so far future and you just can't keep doing them together. Not without the GF new wife. It's not kind and it's not healthy. My ex-husband used to do Christmas morning with his ex-wife and the kids, for example, the first few years we were together and I wasn't invited. Can you imagine how that felt? We lived together but I was to make myself scarce or he would go to her house if it was her holiday. The kids would even open gifts from me with their mom and dad without me there and that hurt. I don't know what it's like to be on your end. But I think your ex-husband needs to pick a lane here. And frankly, the way you see him as your best friend makes me wonder why you two divorced. If you're that tied to each other, why didn't you each put in the effort to stay together? Different topic but still, I really feel like you need to find another outlet and start keeping the chats to kids only because you do need a good friend but he is being inappropriate being that to you. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my half-sister I'm glad her mum died and hope dad dies too. I, 41M, lost my mum when I was 8 and not long after my dad met his new wife. He was 39, she was 20. They had a kid very quickly afterwards, my now half-sister who's 31. I loved her so much. We had a great relationship for a short while. My stepmother though groomed me and we had a sexual relationship for a couple of years starting when I was 14. When I was 16, we were found out but she lied and said I took advantage of her, she was innocent and I was coercing her. My dad believed it and I was thrown out to fend for myself. I saw my little sister by chance when I was 26 and she was 16. I was so happy and was asking her loads of questions and how she was. She basically told me she hated me, I was a rapist and to go and kill myself basically. So I know by then she'd got my stepmother's version of events. And believed it. I was devastated, and it really affected me. I've not done too badly though considering, I have a good job, nice house and lovely wife. I also changed my name by deed poll to my mum's surname. In my eyes, my dad and his side were dead to me. A couple of days though, my half-sister reached out to me on social media out the blue and sent me a long message. She basically said her mum just died and she told her what really happened before she died, that I was telling the truth, her mum groomed me and needed to clear her conscience before she died. So now she's feeling awful and needs to apologize and hopes we can meet at some point, and she's also told my dad and he feels terrible and would like to see me again. I basically told her to get fucked. I'm glad her mum died and hope dad goes soon. And that as she once told me to kill myself, she should also do the same. Not long after that, her fiancé messaged me going off saying she's distraught, suicidal, and I'm a piece of shit for saying something so horrible to someone so vulnerable. I basically blocked him. Obviously my wife knows what happened and says I was stupid and could be in trouble with the police. And that I should have just thought about it a bit more. Aita, for what I did. Well, I am not the one fucking my father's wife. Piss off, idiot. I tried to give you good advice. What do you want to hear more on? That telling someone who just lost their mother to go kill themselves was the height of intelligence. You wouldn't be here asking, asshole. If you thought you were right. You just want other morons to agree with you. Well, sorry Cupcake, I'm not a moron, but please keep insulting anyone who tries to give you good advice and tries to get you to grow up a little dash. Now fuck off with the penthouse letter bullshit. Update. I was really shaken reading the post people found that I think my sister wrote. Reading what she's going through, in fact just reading generally her post made me sad and think of her as that little kid again that I loved to death. And reading how sad she was when I was first kicked out also was like a punch in the balls. So I've reached out to her asking for her phone number so we can talk. Nothing back as of yet though. Not sure what I'll say at this point, or even what I want to hear, but I feel I need it. Comments. Commenter 1. They didn't give you a chance, but now they expect one. Fuck that. Commenter 2. Moreover, they believed a minor took advantage and raped an adult, so yeah, they should feel awful and should live with this shame and pain for the rest of their pathetic existence. Commenter 3. NTA, her guilt and vulnerability don't make her any less an asshole. You were kicked out at 16 after being groomed by a grown-ass adult. You're the victim of sexual predation, but you were forced to fend for yourself and cobble together a life through that. There is no apology that makes that better, no excuse for why they did what they did that gives you back decades of struggle and personal self-hate. Your sister can get the fuck over herself. Update. My abuse. I posted the other day about my abuse and someone was really fucking vile about it, but it's made me doubt myself, so I feel like I have to get it off my chest. She started out okay enough. She was 11 years older than me and she seemed cool. She acted like less of a parent to me and more of a big sister though, and did most of the parenting for my half-sister. Now I'm older, I realize the inappropriate behavior started earlier than when I was 14. Mainly comments about me being good looking, that I'm far too good for girls my age when I was struggling not to get a girlfriend. Things like that. So the abuse wasn't out of nowhere, but it went 0 to 60 really quickly. It started when she caught me masturbating when I was 14. I was mortified, but she laughed and said it's okay and to carry on. And she watched. Obviously I was a kid, so thought it was the best thing ever. She responded by conveniently leaving some of her knickers next to my bed the next morning. Like WTF, what grown woman does that? Her coming and watching became regular. Then one day, she started masturbating myself. I was gobsmacked. Then one day, she started doing it to me and got me to do it to her, promising if she came, she'd go one better. Then when she did one day, she gave me oral. And got me to give it to her, promising the same, if she came that she'd let me lose my virginity to her. Which she did. All that was in the space of about 6 months, and it didn't just stop there, of course. She trained me to be dad while he worked away, which he did all the time. He was gone for weeks on end, and when he was, she'd have me sleeping in with her when my half-sister was asleep. I was doing things no kid should even know about. Even though I was a hormonal, horny teenager, I knew it was wrong and I told her as such a few times. But she put it on me that while I was substituting for my dad, I'd stop her cheating on him with random men and stop them splitting up. Which I didn't want to be responsible for, right? So I carried on. I started becoming more self-confident and started attracting attention of girls in my year. She didn't like that and got jealous. When I was 15 and is going on a date with a girl, she scared her off. And told me I didn't want to date a kid who won't even like sex for years when I can have a woman like her all the time. She told me so much how she loved me that I made her so happy. I'm pretty sure too she had an abortion a few times. She supposedly miscarried loads. I couldn't keep it in anymore, so I told a cousin eventually. Even though he acted like I was lying, it must have been enough that he told me dad, and then one day my dad confronted us. Which of course she denied. And she went nuclear, came up with this far more believable scenario than the truth. Which if you're a middle-aged man, who would you believe? Your son who made out his stepmother used him like her husband, or the wife who made out I took advantage of her when drunk then kept on raping her? Well, my dad believed her and kicked me out. And all his side believed them. I was essentially this pariah. It messed me up for years. I was hypersexual for years and still am. I had sex with everyone and anything I could, men, women, old, young, mostly older as I had a skewed view of acceptable age gaps. Until I actually sorted my life out in my mid-30s and got help. Without that, I'd never have met my now wife who's shown me true love. Thankfully she also has a high sex drive, although not like mine at all. We have a semi-open relationship, we have casual boyfriends and girlfriends and have threesomes together often so one can meet their needs when the other isn't up to it. Which typically is me seeing someone with my drive being like it is. It might not be the usual but it works for us. Hopefully if anyone reads this, it's been useful, it has been for me writing it. Comments. Commenter 1. I feel very sad for you OP for having to go through all that. I wanna ask, have you sent your dad your Reddit post? He needs to know how much he failed as a father. I still can't believe that he chose your stepmom over you because how a teenager could have taken advantage of an adult. Weird how your stepmom wasn't drunk when your dad caught you two that day and he didn't even question why she didn't go to the police if it was true regarding the false accusation that she made against you, because if the genders were reversed the cops would have been called. Your dad had multiple opportunities to check if the story made any sense, especially for how your stepmom most likely wasn't drunk when she said that lie that got you kicked out, no checking to see if there were any inconsistencies with her story, and for how she didn't file charges either. He should have realized from the lie she made that she was a child predator. He didn't even examine her to check if she was actually drunk. Another case where a woman falsely accused a male without any evidence and the male's life gets ruined. Regardless, what has your father said about this? Has he tried contacting you? Even if you don't want to, I think you should write him a letter about how he failed to protect you from a child predator. Send him your Reddit post to make him look at the comments because he needs to know. Reply, hi there. He hasn't seen it and I don't care if he does either, to be honest. He does now know as my sister told him and they've since spoken as have me and her. I have an update to pop on about the main situation soon, but I have no interest in speaking to him. She can definitely share it with him though if she likes. I know, he could have checked and should have, but if I think about it logically, I think he possibly just didn't want to. He had this younger woman who swooped in very shortly after my mum died and he didn't have to be lonely anymore and had someone to raise his kid. I think even if he did believe it, he would have lied to himself and said he didn't so he didn't have to divorce her and actually live as a single man and raise his kid. It was easier for him to believe her, kick his older son out and live with his perfect daughter and hot piece of ass. Update. Thank you to everyone, you all definitely helped me a lot. Especially the people who sent me my sister's post earlier on that week. It was reading that which really made me feel for her and ask if we could talk and gave her my number. It took her a couple of days but she did ring the other day. We spoke for hours. I apologized for what I said and she accepted my apology. I also apologized for what I said to her fiancé and he apologized too. She wanted me to be really blunt and honest with her about everything and not hold back, the abuse, what my stepmother actually did, so I told her in graphic detail. She actually felt sick and I asked her if she wanted to go and I ring back another time, but to her credit she carried on and we carried on talking, about our life experiences since, how it affected us etc. And it's surprising how much in common we've had, hatred for a while of the opposite sex until we sought help, met our partners, struggles with our sexuality, loads. The main thing was though how betrayed she now feels, not just by her mum but the more she thinks about it, dad now as well. That he just fucked me off to fend for myself. She is really angry about the fact for years after I was thrown out, she missed me and wanted to find me and even live with me. But she never knew why I was cut off, so they told her their version of events when she was old enough, I suppose, to stop her, and it worked. She went from loving me to hating me, so was so angry about that. Now she's learned that's all bollocks, her head's fried. She's basically told dad he has to carry on arranging the funeral, she doesn't need it and he's doing it now. People are bothering her asking questions and she's just going quiet. We ended the call on good terms. She called me by my nickname she called me as a kid when saying bye and I responded with the same and we both cried at that. Really was fucking hard. We've not said if we'll talk again but have messaged since a couple times and it was all pleasant. I'm ultimately not sure how much contact or a relationship I want yet despite us having a positive experience. She understands that I need time. I definitely still don't want to talk to dad or want anything to do with him despite him apparently now being desperate, her words. She 100% understands and is also questioning how much she'll have a relationship with him going forward. She's going to discuss it with a therapist. She said his health has been poor for a few years now and has been really bad since she died. I personally wouldn't still feel bad if he died, I definitely wouldn't go to the funeral. She understands that too. There's lots of work for me to do. I'm trying to see a therapist again myself, my head's fried. Comments. Commenter 1. She was triangulated against you. I can only offer praise for how you handled a very tough situation. Time will tell if your relationship expands or not. Commenter 2. I'm glad you are taking these healing steps. I can't imagine how hard it is for you, and you're wise to take it slow. Maybe family counseling is something you might consider doing with her in the future, but don't rush yourself. Glad it's a somewhat positive update and wish you all the best. Commenter 3. I hope a therapist can help you deal with this. It's a lot and difficult to navigate. Good luck. Reply, me too, they've got a lot to deal with, so good luck to them too. Stories number 3. Aita for telling my mom she chose her husband and stepkids over me and I won't let her come back from that. I, 21M, need to provide some background to give everyone a full idea of where I'm coming from. My dad was abusive. He was abusive to mom mostly, but I didn't escape his anger and violence issues either. Specifically when it became clear that while I was well built and tall always, that I was a big softy and wasn't a fighter. He hated that. He wanted a kid who'd knock out other kids' teeth. That was never me. My mom could never leave him though. It took him dying when I was 10, after a massive heart attack, to end his lifetime of terror over us. Mom and I went to therapy separately and together after Dad died. I confessed that I wished she'd left sooner and hated feeling unsafe. I told her I needed her more than I needed anyone else. She told me she would never put anyone else in front of me again and she'd make sure we had a good life. That only lasted until I was 15. Then she met her husband, Rick, who was a single dad of 3, aged 14, 11 and 9, at the time. Rick's oldest daughter, 14 at the time, had massive behavioral issues. She was in and out of psych holds and cops were regulars when she was around. Mom went in with her eyes wide open and decided we all needed to be a family. I spoke out against it and Mom told me Rick needed her and so did the kids. I told her I would not stay with her if they all moved in together. I told her I would not live with another abusive person. She told me this was different, the girl was a kid and younger than me and just needed help. Mom called the cops on me when I left without permission and the cops tried to bring me back. I was 16 by that point. It escalated and they let me stay. Mom tried to push kidnapping charges on my grandparents for keeping me from her and tried to get the courts involved. But I had seen some stuff from Rick's oldest. The day I left they were at the house and Rick's oldest daughter had tried to attack me. So to make it all stop I called CPS about the incident and Mom's attempts to get me back were over. She still tried but CPS stated I should be where I was safe. Rick's younger kids were removed for a few weeks before being placed back with Rick and my mom who had moved in together at that point. Mom tried to maintain contact with me and tried to make me give it a chance but I wanted no part of that. She asked me to spend some time with the younger kids so they could have an older sibling to turn to but I refused to step up. She showed up at my grandparents a few times but they sent her away and I muted her number at that point. Her and Rick are still together and now married. I was invited to their wedding but didn't go and I never reached out. But she's made multiple attempts in the last 2 months and I ignored most of them. It was only when she told me I had a family I was ignoring and her, who loved and missed me and never wanted anything to come between us. She said she was sorry, she was so sorry and all that stuff. I told her she chose Rick and his kids over me and I won't let her come back from that. I said she made me live with abuse once and she tried to do it again. I told her I didn't care if she wanted to help Rick and protect his younger kids. It wasn't my job to care. It was her job to protect me and she failed for a second time. After that Rick reached out to me and he told me I didn't need to be so hard on my mom. That his oldest had problems but it didn't mean him and the kids were undeserving of love and support and he said I had failed at being as good a person as my mom. I blocked him because he's just a random dude who has no business telling me shit like that. My mom tried to get in touch again and apologized again but I ignored it. The fact she's still apologizing is the only reason I'm here to ask this. But Aita. Stories number 4. Aita for telling my dad I plan on never speaking to my brother once I turn 18. I, 16M, will keep this as short as possible. My mum and dad divorced when I was 4, I lived with my mum until I was 14, and my brother lived with my dad. He was 20 when I moved up to live with him and my dad. I have another older brother who still lives with my mother but he isn't relevant in this other than the fact I am much closer with him. I had to move in because my mother couldn't take care of me. My dad happily let me come live with him. I think the only other relevant backstory is that I have SPD, sensory processing disorder. This affects how sensitive my hearing is, high-pitched and loud sounds are almost painful for me, my sight, very quick moving objects and flashing lights can overwhelm me, and my touch, I can't stand certain textures, or random, unworn skin-on-skin contact. Everyone in my family knows this, and is very accommodating, which I'm always incredibly grateful for. Everyone except my brother. He plays extremely high-pitched audio in my ears randomly, he'll flash lights in my eyes, he's even told his friends I love hugs so much, and am really happy when people randomly hug me, I'm not. It's been like this for the 2 years I've been living with him and my dad, and it's only gotten worse. Most recently, he called me to his room, saying he was hurt and needed help, and when I ran into the room, he played his speakers as loud as they could go, and turned on strobe lights that he has for whenever he goes to a party. I completely lost it, I felt like I was underwater, I remember scratching at my ears and around my eyes, but other than that I don't remember much. My dad came and helped me, and told my brother not to do it again. My dad always speaks to him about it every time after, and he always says he won't do it again, but he always does. Yesterday was a breaking point for me, I'd been downstairs baking with dad, when he came in and said he was having some friends over, in the back garden with social distancing. My dad said that's fine, and my brother asked if he could take out his speaker and put the lights on. Dad asked me if I was okay with that, and I said yes, as long as I got plenty of notice. My brother screamed at me, saying, "Oh my God, for once in your life can you be F normal? I shouldn't have to warn you of anything, you're so F annoying." My dad asked him to stop shouting and he did, he left, and my dad asked if I was okay, and I told him, why does it matter if I'm okay or not? I've dealt with this for 2 years, only 2 more and I never have to speak to him again. My dad got upset, he is very close to his 3 brothers, my uncles, and thinks I should just forgive him to patch things up. He said he was disappointed in me for thinking about cutting my brother out of my life. I was always considering going NC with him, because of everything he's done, but after what my dad said I can't help but think if I'm overreacting to this. Whipped for cutting him out the day I turn 18. Top comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, it sounds like he is jealous. He was an only child for many years. Then you move in. With you having SPD, he probably sees it as your dad, coddling, favoring you. The dynamic of the family living situation is different than what he is used to. He is an adult, what he is doing is harassment and could get in serious trouble. Your brother needs a wake-up call and soon. Commenter 2. What he's doing is abusive and your dad has allowed it for years on end. He's just as much of an asshole. Commenter 3. NTA. I also have sensory processing disorder and my sister has always been a real jerk about, well, everything, including doing things like saying, "I know you hate hugs," before hugging me. A lot of her BS stopped when I drew firm boundaries. Why wait? Stop talking to your brother now. Don't go to his room. Pretend he's a poltergeist. Just stay the heck away from him. And tell your dad he can either enforce real punishment for your brother or he can also lose you at 18. He's not parenting, he's just sticking his head in the sand. Update: so much has happened since I posted this, so I wanted to come and let you know I'm currently typing this safely from my mother's, whilst my other older brother's chucking popcorn at me to catch in my mouth. Thank you so much to everyone who commented and messaged me. What James, fake name, did to me never registered as abuse until it was pointed out to me. I wouldn't have had the courage to do what I did without all of your support, so thank you, for saving my life. After reading the comments, I decided to give my dad one last chance to put an end to James' behavior. I sat him down and told him that what he was doing to me was physically painful. How would he like it if someone smacked him and pinched him constantly? He told me he was sorry I felt that way, but I also have to understand how difficult it is for my brother to adjust to having another person in the house. I saw red, I lost it. I screamed at him that a 22-year-old should be able to get used to not being daddy's center of attention, that it was no excuse to exploit my disability to torture me constantly. He didn't say anything, so I walked out. Just left and walked to my favorite skate park nearby. I called my other brother, Daniel, for the person of not constantly saying other brother, and told him I needed him to come get me right away. My mum was at work, so I didn't call her. He was there in 20 minutes, and I told him everything James has done and what Dad said to me. I've never seen him as angry as he was. He told me to get into his car, so I did, and he drove us to my dad's. He told me to go pack all my bags and that he was taking me home. Dad tried to talk to me but I ignored him, just started packing. I couldn't make out everything that was said, but Daniel laid into him, screaming his head off. I didn't have much, so I was packed quick. He told me to go wait in the car. I found out from him after he came to the car, he was in the house an extra 10 minutes, that he went to James and told him to never think of contacting either of us again. Apparently James tried to convince him that it should have just been him and Daniel, that I shouldn't have been born at all, that everything was better before I was. Daniel punched him, hard. He had 2 fractured fingers that he got treated after we left. And that's it, I haven't heard from them since. Daniel told me to write a list of everything that sets off my SPD, and that he'd make sure the house is as SPD safe as possible. My mum cried when I told her what happened, and promised I always had a place with her and Daniel. Which bring us to now, watching the perks of being a wallflower, typing this with Daniel still chucking popcorn at me. Once again, thank you everyone so much for the support and help, I wouldn't be where I am now if not for it. Be safe everyone. Stories number 5. My girlfriend's dream journal is actually a daily log of my activities. I'm asking this to see if I'm the one who's completely lost my mind here. My 28M girlfriend, 25F, has this dream journal she's always writing in. I thought it was cute, you know, expressing her inner world and all that. She claims it can help her understand her subconscious better, which made sense to me. Anyway, last night, she accidentally left it open on her bedside table. I wasn't trying to snoop, but a page was open, and a phrase caught my eye. 10:17 a.m., he got coffee with 2 sugars, just like I knew he would. My stomach dropped. I glanced at another entry. 3:45 p.m., called his mom. Sounded a little stressed. Must remember to bring up the job thing later. It wasn't a dream journal. It was a play-by-play of my day. Every single entry was about me. My movements, my conversations, even ones she wasn't present for, my habits. It was incredibly detailed, almost like a surveillance log. I haven't confronted her yet because I'm genuinely trying to figure out if this is some bizarre form of affection I'm not understanding, or if I should be calling my therapist and maybe looking into changing my locks. Am I overreacting by feeling deeply, deeply creeped out? Is this a normal, girlfriend thing I'm just too dense to grasp? Or is this a massive red flag waving in my face? Like I really like her and haven't had any major issues with our relationship. She's like the sweetest person ever and hasn't shown any signs of being crazy, but now I'm a little scared for my safety. What do I do? Update. I followed the advice of you Wobrad35, which suggested that I ask her what she's writing about while she is in the middle of writing. I was on the couch reading a book when I noticed her writing in her journal from the other couch. I asked her what she was writing about and why she was writing her dream journal when she hadn't even gone to sleep yet. She told me that she doesn't always use it for dreams, and sometimes uses it as a regular diary. I didn't feel like lying, so I just admitted that I had glanced at it earlier and noticed that she was logging my daily activities. Her face got about as red as a tomato, and she got real quiet for a minute. She said that she knows how bad it looks and that her journal is meant to be a relationship sync journal, as she called it. She says that humans rarely scratch the surface of truly understanding each other, even when they're in relationships. She says her goal is to achieve a deep and intuitive connection with me. Basically, she wants to instinctively know my moods and behaviors so she can be the best partner possible, which explains the entry about me putting 2 sugars in my coffee, which I don't even think I paid attention to how many sugars I put in my coffee. She thinks that this will lead to us having an unbreakable bond. It sounds absolutely insane, but when she was explaining it, some of it made sense, I'm not going to lie. She made it out to sound like the sweetest thing ever, but if she truly wanted us to be in sync, why didn't she ask me to also track her movements? How does this strengthen our connection if she knows me to this extreme of an extent when I don't know her to that extent? Part of me almost wishes that she just said she was stalking me, but this explanation almost leaves me feeling more confused. I'm torn. Is this a good explanation, or is this just her justifying obsessive and crazy behavior? Update 2. First off, I want to clarify a few things based on the comments from my last post. It was overwhelming trying to respond to everyone. My girlfriend isn't on the autism spectrum, she doesn't display many related traits. Also, I don't work in a field with sensitive information, so this isn't a case of work espionage. Some of you mentioned possible mental health issues, which she's never brought up, but after what I found this morning, I'd find it highly unlikely she isn't struggling with something. So, we had a discussion about the relationship sync journals last night after my last update. She was very forthcoming, and I genuinely believed she was coming from a sincere place. I told her she didn't have to study my every move to strengthen our bond and that we could learn about each other through shared activities. She seemed satisfied with that and agreed to stop the journal since they made me uncomfortable. She even offered to let me read the whole journal, which I did. Most of the entries were just notes on my likes and dislikes, but one entry really stood out. She was tracking my Facebook activity log. For those wondering how she knew about conversations I wasn't present for, we sometimes share my laptop, and I'd forgotten I was logged into Facebook on it. That made me feel uneasy. Since I primarily work from home, after she left this morning, I decided to check the garage. I remembered seeing some notebooks in a box out there. What I discovered was horrifying. There wasn't just one relationship sync journal, but 5 of them, completely filled with entries dating back a year before we even started dating. We knew each other through friends before dating, so I wasn't a complete stranger, but some of these entries are from before we were even friendly, when we just had minor, cordial encounters. She's been tracking my Facebook for a long time. In one journal, there was essentially a diagram cross-referencing my likes, comments, friend lists, and family members, seemingly to determine who I was closest to. There was also an entry about my ex-girlfriend, where she was taking notes from social media to speculate about why we broke up. Her goal was to prevent herself from making the same mistake as my ex. Even more disturbingly, she had notes about my browser history, specifically mentioning that she'd watched some adult videos from my history to understand how to please me better. She also has entries analyzing my reactions to certain things, my body language, and other details to understand my subconscious motivations. I felt really bad yesterday when some comments suggested I was a bad boyfriend for not appreciating how thoughtful she was, which is why I tried to be so understanding last night. But now, I am genuinely terrified and am contemplating leaving the house before she comes back. Update: my girlfriend's dream journal is really a daily log of my activities. After my last post, where I discovered the extent of the additional relationship sync journals, I decided the best option was to stay home without telling her about my discovery. Luckily, she invited one of her friends over, so I didn't have to spend a lot of time with her before going to bed. While she was busy with her friend, I ended up taking the advice of @electronicnews_ who suggested I contact an ex of hers and ask if she ever did anything like that with him. I only knew of one ex, but I remembered that she described him as psycho and asked me to block him on Facebook because she was worried he might harass me. I decided to unblock him and then sent him a message asking if we could talk on a voice call. We eventually were able to connect on the phone while she was visiting with her friend. He actually sounded like a very normal guy when I spoke with him. I told him why I was calling, and he got quiet when I mentioned my girlfriend's name, then said, "What has she done now?" I ended up telling him the whole story, and afterwards I heard him laughing on the other end of the phone. It wasn't a laugh like he thought it was funny, it was more like a laugh of disbelief that this had happened again. He then told me that he had a similar experience with her, but she never journaled around him, and they didn't live together for him to find any journals, so the journal thing was new just for me apparently. But he did recall her knowing things that she shouldn't know sometimes. He also mentioned that things in his apartment would go missing and then suddenly reappear when he would swear that he never touched them. At the time, he was more concerned about a ghost or something than his girlfriend. But he said he started to feel suffocated by her after a while and chose to break things off with her. After that, that's when the story started to take a turn. Apparently, a week after they broke up, she showed up at his house and told him that she's pregnant. He said he decided to give her a second chance, but after a few weeks, he noticed that one of her friends had posted a Snapchat of her at a bar drinking after work. That's when he confronted her, and she admitted that she had faked the pregnancy to get him back. That's when he broke things off with her and told her to never contact him again. He said he didn't hear from her again after that. He said that months later, he found a camera in his smoke detector when he was changing the batteries for it. He said he knew it was her but couldn't prove it. I told him about her telling me to block him, and he said she must have made me do that because she knew that he would warn me if he found out she had a boyfriend. I'm going to call movers to arrange for them to come pick up my stuff while she is at work. I'm not even going to tell her. I don't think I'm going to be able to find movers until next week though, so my plan is to just try to play things off over the next few days. I will keep you all updated. Stories number 6. Aita if I don't tell my gay son about this part of my past. Hi everyone, I'm new to Reddit so I don't know if I'm doing this right. I am a 53-year-old dad to 3 kids including a wonderful son that is 16. For the sake of anonymity I will call him Ethan here. I will also try to keep it as short as possible. Basically my son is 16 and he came out a few days ago. I reacted very badly. I cried and basically locked myself in my room for a day straight. But not because he is gay. I do not care about his homosexuality by itself. I love him so much. And I've always been very supportive of gay people I think, even in the 90s when it was not as accepted as it is now. I never cared about it. I even had a gay brother who was 2 years younger than me, and my breakdown to my son's coming out happened because of what happened to him. He was gay. My favorite person in the world, my best friend, my confidant. A bit scrawny lol but he had a heart of gold. Genuinely the kindest person on earth. But some people decided him being gay was enough to hurt him. 3 guys attacking my baby brother because he looked at them weird. I was there, I tried to stop it, but I couldn't do anything except call the police, and only 1 guy got caught. And yet the police did nothing. That's what happens when the victim is a gay kid in Nebraska farmland I guess. Anyway they got away with it even though my brother got teeth missing, a twisted wrist and 2 broken ribs. He stayed in the hospital for 3 days. The next day when I went to check on him, he had overdosed and I still haven't been able to finish his letter. He was 19. And basically, I never got over it. I still cry myself to sleep some nights when I'm alone, even more than 30 years later, and my son looks so much like him. I swear, sometimes I wonder if he isn't reincarnated or something. And everything that I told you, I haven't been able to tell anyone. Not my wife, not my kids, not my gay son. They know my brother died and that I don't talk to my parents, but not that exactly happened to him and that I disowned my parents because they were relieved they wouldn't have to hide their gay son anymore, and I do not know how to tell them. It's already hard enough to type this with very few details to strangers on the internet. I don't think I will be able to tell the ones I love, especially if they ask for details. I'm broken, I know that. But I don't know what to do. I know my son deserves an explanation, but every time I see him I want to cry. He must think I hate him, and that breaks me even more. But I just don't know how to say it without breaking down completely. What should I do? Comments. Commenter 1. Show him this post or write him a letter. Sometimes you can't verbally express hard things. You are NTA, but you need to communicate with him in some form or fashion. Much positivity coming your way from me. I know that has to be hard to think about day in and day out. Commenter 2. This is the way to tell him your story without actually talking about it. It needs to happen, otherwise there's a strong risk he thinks your reaction is one of not accepting him. You can close by reiterating that you can't bring yourself to speak about the events, so if he has questions just, I dunno, pop you a text. Commenter 3. Yeah, at this point his son is totally under the impression that OP's response is to him coming out. Dad needs to rectify this ASAP or he is TA. His immediate response is understandable, but his kid doesn't know or understand. I hope he gathers himself and does the right thing soon. Or we are gonna see a post about, I came out to my parents and my dad had a mental breakdown MITA. Commenter 4. Wow, you have been carrying that trauma alone for way too long. Time to get some help. Talk about your brother, your heartbreak, your loss, and the love. Tell your son that you love him and that he is perfect as he is. When you are ready you should tell Ethan about his uncle. Thinking of you and sending love from this internet stranger. Update. Hello everyone, if you don't remember me, I posted 2 days ago about my son's coming out and my terrible reaction because of my gay brother's death. Your comments helped me realize a lot of things. I have been deeply traumatized by my brother's death and need to see a therapist, but more importantly, I owed my family, especially my son, an explanation and an apology. So I decided to tell them. I'm still really emotional right now, so I apologize if I do not really make any sense. First, I told my wife. I wanted to have someone by my side when telling my son. I don't think I would have been able to otherwise. As it is still too hard to say out loud, I followed your advice and showed her this post. She cried a lot and told me I should have talked about it a long time ago. She said she was contemplating mentioning divorce to me if I didn't change because she thought I was being so hateful, but now she felt terrible. I told her it wasn't her fault and that I should really apologize to Ethan. I did not want to show him this post because it didn't feel enough given all the harm I caused, so I decided to write a letter to him, my wife standing by my side all along. I told him I couldn't say it out loud because it hurt too much. Apologized for how I reacted and explained to him he hadn't done anything wrong. Then I explained to him exactly what happened with my baby brother. Gave some more details I do not feel comfortable writing again. Told him how much I loved him and that I was so sorry for not showing it recently because of my insecurities. That I'm so proud of him for coming out and that I will love him and support him always, no matter what. After this, I gave my son the letter without a word. I actually tried saying something but nothing came out. So Ethan grabbed the letter and went to his room to read it. I was honestly having a panic attack in my wife's arms when Ethan barged into our room crying and hugging me really tight. He said he was sorry for my brother and that he didn't know. That he was glad I still loved him because he genuinely started to think I really hated him now. I think that's what broke me because I realized how I let my trauma make me a terrible father and let it stain my relationship with my boy. Well, my son is doing better now. Today my son smiled at me for the first time since he came out. I'm planning on taking him to the movies tonight, just the two of us. Also, as you all suggested, I booked a therapy appointment. I need it. I haven't slept at all because whenever my mind goes blank, I either remember when I found my brother or when Ethan told me he thought I really hated him now. I need to get this fixed so I can finally live my life instead of pretending everything is alright. I've kept this all bottled up for so long, I need to let it go now. Thank you so much everyone. Comments. Commenter 1. This is beautiful and I'm glad you did this. Commenter 2. One more example of how important communication is, being able to manage emotions and reflect on what led us to act the way we did. We fully support you and are proud of this step you've taken. Stories number 7. Aita for not lying to my son after he was told his mom cheated on me with his stepdad. When my ex, 30F, was pregnant with our son, 11M, she cheated and left me for another guy. She even tried to put him on the birth certificate, which brought on DNA testing and a 3-year-long custody battle where she and her husband did everything to try and take my son from me. Because of the cheating, the attempts to prevent me being in my son's life and many lies told, even to CPS, about me, there is no civil or co-parenting relationship between us. We always sit apart when we're at the same event for our son. We communicate only through an app assigned by the courts. We have third parties handle custody exchanges. That's just the way it has to be. 2 months ago my ex's mother, who she has a rocky relationship with, told our son that his mom cheated on me with his stepdad. Once my son heard this, he brought it up to his mom and told her and his stepdad that he wished he didn't have to ever speak to them again. And he said his stepdad is not his stepdad anymore. He's pulled totally back from them too. My ex mentioned this via the app and I spoke to our son when he came home with me. We share 50-50 physical custody, so I get a week and she gets a week and we rotate it that way. Anyway, I talked to my son and he told me that his mom and stepdad always act like his stepdad is better than me and they'd get annoyed that he only called me dad and his stepdad by his first name. And finding out they had cheated made it so much worse and it made him really mad. He said he never liked his stepdad, which I already had some awareness of, and he wished he'd go away now. He was upset his mom would do that and then say the stuff she does about him being a good dad to him and stuff. I told him I didn't want him to dislike or hate anyone because of me, but I wouldn't force him to like or love someone either. I asked how he'd feel about talking to someone to help him with this and he said he'd be okay with that. So I got him signed up for therapy. He hasn't started yet. My ex quizzed our son the next time he was at her house and she got mad at me for not lying to our son and denying the cheating. She told me it wasn't fair to use it against her when I never told him. Her mom did. And I didn't want to ruin my relationship with my son over her actions. I got one rather long message from her through the app. Then she confronted me outside my house when my son was at her house. She told me a good father would have put our son's best interest before his hurt. I don't think she's right, but I know I'm possibly too close to this to be objective, so AITA. Stories number 8. AIO for kicking my husband and sister out over their secret. I, 28F, found out last week that my husband, 31M, of the last 4 years, and my sister-in-law, his sister, 31F, lost their virginity to each other. Before you think we're something out of Deliverance, I should clarify. Technically it's his stepsister. She came to visit recently and I overheard them reminiscing about it over coffee. It was early in the morning and I guess they didn't know I was up and quietly coming downstairs. I wasn't sure what to do, so I fake coughed and was a bit louder than usual as I finished my trip down the stairs. It definitely startled them, but I'm fairly sure, at the time, they didn't realize I had heard them. We said our good mornings and chatted while I joined them for coffee. I tried my best to push it out of my mind, but just couldn't, so later that night I confronted them. After some stuttering and extreme awkwardness, they explained what happened. Their parents started dating when they were about 14, but they had known each other before, being in same grade and going to the same school. Each admitted they had a small mutual crush but had never really spent much since time together as they were part of different social groups. However, after the wedding they started living together, and a few months later, a bit shy of 2 years after their parents met, when they were about 16, they say things just happened. Apparently quite a few times over the last 2-ish years of high school up until they graduated and ended up at different colleges. After that, they'd only see each other at breaks and holidays, with both dating several other people in the interim between then and when my husband and I started dating. Both swear they haven't been intimate since and have no desire to again. We had talked about our firsts while dating, but he just said it was someone he went to high school with, and that they were never really dating and basically FWBs that casually hooked up now and then. He did use his sister's middle name. I guess he wasn't quick enough to come up with a better fake name Dash, but it's a very common name so didn't really seem strange. Until now anyway. I'm the only one who knows their secret other than the two of them. I want to trust my husband, and from their conversation and general demeanor around each other I think their feelings now are purely familial, but I just couldn't process what I was hearing. I freaked out pretty bad on both of them, saying it was still perverse and they were both freaks. I quickly packed a bag with some spare clothes and left to stay in a hotel while I collect my thoughts. Honestly, I should have kicked him and his sister out, but just had to get away from that situation ASAP. He's been texting me non-stop saying I'm being dramatic, and it really shouldn't be a huge deal. He justifies it by saying it's not like our parents got married when we were little kids and we grew up together. We were young and horny and liked each other. Or that, what if there was an alternate universe where my husband and myself, parents met after the two of us were dating and ended up getting married. We'd then technically be step-siblings then, so would we then be perverts for having sex? I understand the point he's trying to make, but just, it did not make me feel better. I'm just at a loss. I don't know how I'm ever going to look at them the same now, especially her. Please help me. AIO here. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Nor I'm gonna ignore the weird sibling issue, it's the fact he hid it from you and continued to see her. I think there's some lingering feelings if they have to reminisce about sleeping together. Reply. This is fair, and not that I want to come off as defending him, but not sure, continued to see her counts here. She is his family. It's not like they're super close and see each other often. She lives halfway across the country from us and is very career-oriented, she's a lawyer of some type, and this was maybe the 4th time we've met. A Christmas and Thanksgiving on separate years and then our wedding. But yeah, definitely seemed to be waxing nostalgic a bit. She was saying he found a good one, about me, and he was teasing her by asking when she was getting married. He knows she's focused on her job, and she, hopefully, joking said something like, I'm not sure I ever will. I guess you just ruined me for other men, and he laughed and replied, I guess I'm just that good, eh? Ha. Commenter 2. In my opinion, him saying you're overreacting is just ignoring your feelings towards the situation. You feel a certain way about the situation, he should respect that and try and listen to those feelings. Also ask yourself, how would I feel about him sitting with one of his other exes while they're reminiscing on those times? If you wouldn't like it, then what changes? Yes, they are step-siblings, but you still have a right to feel the way you do, and him dismissing that is ultimately going to make it worse. Also, by lying, not using her name when you asked who he lost his virginity to, makes it worse too, because he lied for a reason which is most probably because he knew it was wrong. So if he knew that, then what's changed now? Reply. Yes. All this is how I feel. Like, I for sure would have ended things if I found this out during the getting to know you part of our relationship. So I get why he'd lie, but it's still lying. Commenter 3. Nor. He's right in that they aren't siblings and weren't raised together. With that conclusion in place, she's any other non-related woman then. He can't have it both ways. Reminiscing about their past sexcapades with her in his marital home with his wife upstairs is morally corrupt. There's zero trust. Go home. Kick him out. Commenter 4. Seriously. I think the fact that they were reminiscing about it in his marital home with his wife upstairs is weirder than their FWB past. I wouldn't trust them alone together tbh, cause his actions are a red flag. Reply. I'm still not okay with it, but to give a bit more context, I may have been embellishing a bit using the word reminiscing, copy-paste from another reply to a comment. She was saying he found a good one, about me, and he was teasing her by asking when she was getting married. He knows she's focused on her job, she's a lawyer, and she, hopefully, joking said something like, I'm not sure I ever will. I guess you just ruined me for other men, and he laughed and replied, I guess I'm just that good, eh? Edit. So I realized I bungled the title a bit. As I was writing this, I was 100% planning on calling him back and telling them both to get the fuck out, as I shouldn't be the one that left, and thought it would be a more catchy, succinct title. Then as I was writing, I calmed down just enough to decide to get some opions first and didn't think to change it. Edit 2. I got way more replies than I expected. I've read through a lot of them and got a lot to think about. I'm tired and want to try and get some sleep. I do have work tomorrow, but will try to reply some more and maybe post an update after, or during breaks, or if I find free time during the day. The bitch should be flying back out tomorrow night, so at this point we'll probably wait until then to go home. Update. I woke up to way too many replies to even begin going through, and even trying to start to reply to a fraction of them gave me anxiety, so I didn't. After work, it was even worse. I did read through a lot of them, so I'm just going to put an update here to address where I'm at. I went home after getting off knowing the stepsister-in-law would have left for the airport. My husband was there alone and could hardly look me in the eye. He found this post, and was beyond mortified. Allegedly, his sister left not long after I did and was barely in our house or said a word to him since this all went down. We live in an area with a lot of hiking trails and similar recreational opportunities nearby, which is one of her hobbies, so he says she's been taking advantage and in general just finding somewhere else to be, only coming back to shower and sleep. I plan on trying to talk to her soon and make sure everything corroborates on that point, but overall, I believed him. We had a very long talk about how their banter that morning made me feel, as well as his subsequent handling of it during our texting sessions. I agreed with the many comments that it was borderline gaslighting and dismissive of my feelings. He didn't seem to like hearing that, but didn't argue against it and did seem to genuinely apologize, like an actual apology instead of some shit like, I'm sorry if you feel that way. We decided he is going to go stay with one of his cousins for a while. We live in the same city and he's the closest relative he could make arrangements with. I'm going to leave it up to him whether or not to give any details beyond we're fighting. Not sure how long that is going to last, but we are planning on going to couples therapy and at least try to work through this. He agreed she was not to step foot in our house again, and I didn't want to see her outside of the occasional family event if hosted elsewhere. Thankfully it was already a rare occurrence, so don't expect it to come up often. I know that's not what a lot of you want to hear, and in true Reddit fashion there was a lot of the classic, leave his ass, comments. I do understand that viewpoint and feel there were a lot of valid points being made, but for now I truly feel this is what's best. Maybe if anything more interesting develops I'll post an actual new, update, post in the future. Anyway, I'm going to go down a bottle of wine and treat myself to a hot soak with a bath bomb. Stories number 9. Kids dropped off on our porch. Me and my girlfriend do not have kids, so we have extra, free time, as we always get told by my cousin, who has 4 kids, all minors. She had been joking around lately and saying we should take care of the children, all of them, as she has booked a cruise with her new boyfriend. We didn't pay any attention to it as it sounded absurd and just laughed along with her. We both have an extra day off as it was a long weekend, and heard some knocking on the door at 7 a.m. in the morning. We knew it wouldn't be the postman as they don't arrive that early and weren't expecting any visitors. I go down to check who it is and see my cousin's 4 kids standing out there in the cold, mother nowhere in sight. I open the door and bring them in because it's freezing outside and they had no jackets on, then asked where the mother is. They said she told us that you would take care of us while she is on her cruise, so we took the bus and came to your house. I couldn't believe my eyes and ears, I kept thinking WTF. So I called her immediately and her phone was off. Called her new boyfriend and his phone went to voicemail. I asked the kids to explain exactly what their mum has told them. They said in these words, she said since you don't have any responsibilities and have free time you said you will look after us while she's gone. What do I do? I called my aunt and she said the same thing, that my cousin has told her I agreed to take care of the kids. She didn't even have the courtesy to drop them off and made them catch the bus on a cold winter day. Thinking of calling child services at this point. Sum of comments. Commenter 1, your aunt must know what cruise they are taking. Have her contact the ship and let your cousin know that her kids are going into the foster system. Reply, yeah, this is the best route I think. If she at least dropped them off herself and asked nicely, maybe just maybe we would have considered it. But it's freezing right now in Australia and she made them catch the bus. This is not cool at all. Commenter 2, I would never do it, I refuse to be backed into a corner. Also, who pays for a cruise with a boyfriend but not childcare? Reply, aunt paid for the entire cruise. They are doing it tough, with 4 kids so they couldn't pay their own way. Apparently my aunt was paying for childcare so she abandoned them to me. I will update soon. Commenter 3, am I understanding this right? Your aunt actually agreed to take care of the kids, and her solution was to dump them off with you? Reply, she lied to my aunt and said just pay for the cruise and I will be taking care of the children. That's why when I called my aunt she was baffled that I said I never agreed to such a situation. Update post 1. Alright, here's what actually went down a few hours after my cousin's kids showed up at our place. We were still trying to figure out what to do, gave them food, put the heater on, got them settled. Still no word from their mum or her boyfriend, both phones going straight to voicemail. Then around 10:30 a.m., I get a call from a private number, it's the police. They ask if I've got 4 kids at my house. I said yes and explained the situation. Turns out the bus driver who dropped them off is the one who called it in. Apparently, on the ride over, the kids told him they were going to stay with family and gave him our address. He thought it was odd that 4 young kids were traveling alone in the cold with no bags or jackets, so after dropping them off, he reported it for a welfare check just to be safe. A short while later, both police and child protection show up at my door. They were honestly great, calm but clearly taking it seriously. I told them everything. Showed them the texts where my cousin had joked about us watching the kids, nothing confirming anything, explained how we had no warning, and that they just showed up saying we'd agreed. The kids said their mom told them we had plenty of free time and would be happy to take them. Then about an hour and a half after that, police tell me they've gone to the cruise terminal and found her on the ship. This ship was in Circular Quay in the city, not too far from my place and was scheduled to leave at 3:30 p.m. She had already boarded. Ready to sail off with her new boyfriend. They pulled her off and told her she had to come immediately, no argument. She showed up at our house looking completely unbothered, full cruise outfit, sunglasses on her head, lanyard around her neck. Didn't even look at the kids, just walked in and said, "Did you seriously get the police involved?" I told her she left 4 kids with no warning, no gear, and no contact info. She starts going off about how I embarrassed her and ruined her holiday. Then my aunt calls, her mum, yelling at me, saying I'd gone too far and that she paid for the cruise as a treat for her daughter, and I'd wasted her money. No concern at all about what actually happened. Meanwhile, Child Protection was taking a statement from me and telling my cousin this was a serious neglect issue and would be investigated. She didn't seem to care. Grabbed the kids, didn't say thank you, didn't apologize, just left like I was the one in the wrong. I tried to call my aunt and her a while after that to explain that I was not the one who called the police and child services, but they wouldn't believe me and both have blocked my number. Sum of comments. Commenter 1, Sydney. At least you were home to bring the kids in. Reply, yes mate, bloody cold in the morning too. Commenter 2, did they not have clothes, just turned up empty-handed? I'm in New Zealand and the last few days it's been literally freezing. Reply, t-shirts and pants, no jacket. Commenter 3, good going bus driver. Sounds like the kids were familiar enough with the bus system that this is not their first time. How many other times have they been left to fend for themselves and in what circumstances? Definitely needs investigating. Reply, I didn't know she lets them catch the bus like this. No supervision, it was bound to be found out and I'm glad it happened sooner rather than later. Top commenter, bus driver is a good egg. Reply, apparently he knows much more than I do, as they have been boarding the bus frequently especially in the school holidays alone. Commenter 4, I'm just asking out of curiosity, how old more or less are the kids? I'm just surprised that the bus driver even noticed or cared. Was it a long-distance bus? Where I'm from it's pretty common for kids to be riding a bus alone, and in my city they even ride for free as long as they have school ID, even in high school. Reply, about 15 minutes by bus. Much quicker by car since it doesn't stop everywhere. She didn't want to drop them off as she knew we wouldn't actually agree to the situation so made them catch the bus. Oldest child is 12, youngest 5. Commenter, how did the cops get your phone number if a random bus driver reported it? Reply, he got my address and phone number from the kids, apparently he knows them well as they frequently used the bus during school holidays alone. OOP adds, I will be posting on social media to all family members and relatives the true story of events. As they are trying to make it seem like I called the cops straight away as soon as they arrived at my house. I already got a few calls from family berating me about this. Update post 2. Didn't think I'd be writing another update, but this situation just keeps escalating. A couple of days after my cousin came to pick up the kids, after being dragged off the cruise ship, FACS got back in touch and asked a few follow-up questions. During the conversation, they mentioned they had contacted the kid's biological father and informed him of what had happened. I didn't even know he was still around. From what I remembered, he'd moved out to regional NSW years ago, I think somewhere near Wagga. Apparently, he's been paying child support and trying to stay in touch, but my cousin made it almost impossible. Would ignore his calls, block him, cancel visits, that sort of thing. Well, when he found out what she did leaving the kids to catch a bus alone in winter and dumping them on our doorstep, he was furious. Drove straight to Sydney that same night. He came to our house the next morning. Genuinely nice guy, clearly shaken but calm. He said he just wanted to hear everything from someone who was there. We sat down and talked for a while. He asked how the kids were, if they said anything, and what exactly happened. You could tell he really cared. Then he told me straight up, he's going to apply for full custody. He said he's been documenting everything for years, the cancelled visits, the excuses, the strange behavior when the kids did come back to him, and this was the final straw. Leaving them like that without even a message. He said he wouldn't let them grow up thinking that was normal. I told him I fully supported him. Those kids deserve stability. He thanked us for not turning them away and for taking care of them when no one else did. Then he left to speak with a solicitor. Now, on to something I didn't expect and honestly still can't believe. Our car was vandalized last night. All 4 tires slashed. Nothing else touched, just the tires. We noticed it this morning when my girlfriend went to head out. No note, no witnesses. Unfortunately, we don't have cameras installed, but we've asked neighbors if they have any footage from overnight. Can't say for sure who did it, but given the timing, I've got a few guesses. Especially since a family member called us yesterday blaming us for turning the family against my cousin. No proof yet, but we've reported it to the police just in case. Honestly, we're exhausted. We didn't ask for any of this, just tried to do the right thing when 4 kids showed up freezing on our doorstep. The entire family is believing her version of the story. I'm thinking of compiling a Facebook post with all the information to prove what happened, as things are getting serious now. Sum of comments. Top commenter, call the cops and file a report. Let them know what happened. It won't do anything but help in the custody battle. Reply, I'm thinking it's the boyfriend, he looks a bit rough around the edges and I've overheard once from her that he has a criminal history. Commenter 1, I would wait to post anything on Facebook until dad wins his custody case. Where are the kids now? Reply, with her as far as I know still, but the FACS are building a case. From what I gathered off the phone call, I'm pretty sure the dad will get custody. To another commenter, yeah, I might hold off posting anything just for the dad's sake, he's going through hell right now, I can't imagine being in his shoes. Commenter 2, I'm shocked the cops let her take the kids home and didn't take them into custody while looking into it all. Reply, I get the feeling they like to build a bulletproof case before going all in, to seal the deal. Commenter 3, why on earth would anyone believe her? There are 4 kids that can at least verify that we showed up on the bus without coats or bags. Reply, it's more my aunt's issue, she will side with her no matter what, as she has children. I am despised usually by her as I don't have kids and seen as irresponsible and as having way too much time on my hands. Even if she knows the truth she will side with her. Update post 3. So, things escalated again, and fast. Last night, around 7:30 p.m., we got a knock on the door. My girlfriend opened it and just froze. Standing there was my cousin's eldest, 11 years old, alone, in the dark, holding a small school bag. No jacket. No phone. Just said, Mom told me to come stay here for a bit. We were stunned. Asked where the other siblings were. He said, they're with her boyfriend. I didn't want to stay there anymore. When we asked why she'd let him leave, he said, she told me to leave if I didn't like it there. So I did. We brought him inside straight away, gave him something warm to eat, and called the police. They showed up quickly, along with FACS. Because of the previous incident with the cruise, they treated this seriously right away. The boy told them things no child should have to say. Said his mum had been yelling all day, locked in her room, and no one was looking after them. Said he remembered how calm it felt at our place and just wanted to come back. Shortly after, FACS and police went to the house. We were later told the other children were removed and my cousin was brought in for questioning. There's now an active investigation into neglect and abandonment. I don't know if it was guilt, pressure from FACS, or just everything catching up with her, but apparently she'd been spiraling since the cruise incident. Then this morning, my aunt, my cousin's mum, showed up at our door absolutely furious. She started screaming at us, saying I'd destroyed the family, turned the kids against their mother, and I stole her kids from her. She even yelled, that cruise was the first time she was happy in years, and you ruined it because you don't like kids. We shut the door and reported it. Police advised us to keep a record and said we can apply for an AVO if it happens again. Later that afternoon, I got a call from the biological father's lawyer. He's officially pursuing full custody and asked if I'd be willing to provide a character reference and a statement about what happened, what the kids said, how they were when they arrived, and how we were involved. I agreed without hesitation. I didn't ask to be in the middle of this, but if it helps those kids get to a better place, I'm in. The thing that really stuck with us. Just before FACS left with the eldest boy, he gave my girlfriend a hug and said, "You're the only people who made me feel normal." That hit hard. We're emotionally stepping back now, but we'll continue to cooperate where needed. We've learned the hard way that doing the right thing doesn't always come easy, but we don't regret opening that door. If anything major happens, I'll post again. For now, we're just trying to breathe. Editor's note, I'm aware that in a previous comment OOP said oldest was 12. Sometimes posters fudge ages a bit for the sake of anonymity, or maybe the kid is almost 12 or just turned 12 and OOP forgot. I misspoke the other day and said my sister was 27 when she's 26. It happens. Figured I'd write a note here that yes, I saw the discrepancy before I got 100 comments calling it out lol. Sum of comments. Commenter 1, those poor kids. Reply, we're doing the best we can, our conscience is clear and hoping to keep it this way. I pray the father does get complete custody. Commenter 2, please keep us updated. It may get messy, so please remember that you are doing this for those children, they deserve love, stability and a reliable parent. Will you keep in touch with them? I hope so. Reply, yeah, I feel it's an obligation to keep in touch now, definitely. I'm not one to call the police for minor things or have children taken away, but this is beyond outrageous and cruel. One more comment. Thank you, I can relate to you as I myself have spent some time in foster care, not as long as you, but I understand how it feels. Hoping for a good outcome for everyone involved. Stories number 10. Aita for leaving my best friend's surprise party early because it felt more like a roast. Okay, so I, 24F, have this best friend, let's call her Jenna, 24F2, and we've been close since high school. Like, held my hair while I threw up in the Denny's bathroom, type of friends. I honestly love her, I really do. But she can be a lot. So anyway, she threw this little surprise party for me last weekend. My birthday was last Tuesday, but she insisted on celebrating Friday. She told me to dress cute, and she made it sound like it was gonna be this wholesome wine and charcuterie night with the girls. Sounds great, right? Well, I show up in this cute white dress I literally bought for the occasion, hair curled, nails done, all that. I walk in and they yell surprise, but not in a "we love you" way. It was a theme party. The theme? Dress like the birthday girl and roast her. I kid you not, everyone was wearing versions of my go-to outfits. Messy bun, iced coffee cups, fake nails, bad parking tickets taped to their bags. Okay, that one kinda got me. But then they started doing fake toasts that were just jabs. Like, here's to my name, who always has a 10-step skincare routine but still wakes up looking tired. To my name, who thinks astrology is a personality trait. To my name, who ghosted her gym membership but never forgets to DoorDash McFlurries at 2 a.m. Like. Some of it was funny, I'll admit, but after 20 minutes it just got mean. I kept smiling through it like, haha, good one, but deep down I was like, damn. This wasn't a roast with love. It was just people clowning on me for sport. So after pretending to go to the bathroom, I grabbed my keys, quietly told Jenna, I think I'm done for the night, and left. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't cry. I just left. I texted her later that I appreciated the effort, but it felt more like I was the butt of the joke, not the guest of honor. Now Jenna's mad and saying I embarrassed her, and that it was just jokes, and I'm being too sensitive. A few of the others messaged me saying they thought I overreacted and that it was all in fun. But like, isn't a birthday supposed to feel good? Not like a Comedy Central special. So tell me, Aita, for walking out of my own roast disguised as a birthday party. Also, for the record, I'm now officially team. Next year I'm celebrating with pizza and my cat. Update, Aita, for leaving my best friend's surprise party early because it felt more like a roast. Hey everyone. Wow, I did not expect this much love and support. I've been reading through your comments, like, obsessively tbh, and I can't even tell you how comforting it's been. I thought I was crazy or being too sensitive, like Jenna said, but apparently I was just reacting like a normal human with, feelings. So thank you. So here's what happened since I posted. Jenna texted me. Not to apologize, but to send me a meme that said, roasting is a love language, with a laughing emoji. I left her on read because, girl. Seriously. Later that night, one of the girls from the party, we'll call her Becca, DM'd me and said she thought I knew about the roast. She said Jenna told everyone I was totally down for it and even helped plan it. I was like, what? The only thing I planned was the white dress I wore while being emotionally shanked by 6 girls in fake Uggs. Anyway, I gently explained to Becca that nope, I was blindsided. And she immediately apologized and said she felt really bad. She even said if she'd known, she never would have gone along with it. So that honestly made me feel a bit better, at least one of them has a soul. As for Jenna, radio silence since the meme. No apology, no, hey I messed up, nothing. So I've decided I'm not gonna chase people to value me. My new plan? I took a personal day, got myself a mini spa package, ate overpriced macarons, and spent my night with my cat binge-watching The Bear while wearing a gold face mask like I was healing from battle, because emotionally, I kinda was. I've realized this whole thing was actually a weird gift. I got roasted, yes. But I also got clarity. I thought I had a solid group of friends, turns out I had a front row seat to my own roast hosted by people who think mean but make it Pinterest is a cute party idea. So yeah. Next year, it's just me, my cat, a pizza the size of a steering wheel, and 0 surprises. And you know what? That honestly sounds perfect. Thanks again for validating my gut feeling. Y'all really helped me feel seen. Stories number 11. AITJ for not wanting to share my college fund with my half-brother. I recently graduated from college completely debt-free, which honestly feels like a blessing these days. That was only possible because of a college fund my grandma set up for me when I was born. She was basically like a second mom, picked me up from school, came to every recital, stayed over when I was sick. She passed away when I was 17, but before that, she made it very clear that the money she saved up was for my education only. She even had it written into a trust with my name, specifically for college-related expenses. Anyway, here's where it gets messy. My dad got remarried when I was 15. His new wife was never exactly warm toward me, but I was trying to be civil for my dad's sake. 2 years after they got married, they had my half-brother, who's now 7. He's a sweet kid, and I don't have anything against him, but we're not close. I basically moved out for college shortly after he was born, so I only see him during holidays or quick visits. A couple of weeks ago, after my graduation, my dad asked to talk privately. We sat down and he started with, "I'm really proud of you. You've done so well. Then he got to the real point. I was wondering if you'd be open to setting aside some of the leftover college money for your little brother. You've got about $9,000 left, right? That could really help us start saving for his future. I kind of froze for a second. I told him I hadn't fully decided what I'd do with the leftover money, but I was planning on using it for my move. I got a job out of state, maybe a down payment on a used car, or even grad school in a couple years. He said, I get that, but your brother doesn't have anyone else who can do that for him. It would mean a lot if you helped. You were lucky he should be too. I replied, as calmly as I could, but Dad, that money wasn't from you or anyone else. It was from Grandma. She saved that money for me. Not for anyone else, and definitely not for your new family. He got quiet. Then he said something like, I just thought you'd care more about your family. Guess I was wrong, and that really pissed me off. Because where was that same energy when he let my stepmom exclude me from holidays? Or when I had to figure out FAFSA and apartment hunting on my own because he was too busy with my brother. Now my stepmom has been acting super cold, giving me that fake polite tone, and making comments like, well, not everyone's raised to be generous, I guess. My dad barely talks to me unless it's about surface level stuff. It honestly feels like I committed some crime just for wanting to keep my college fund for, I don't know, my future. I told my mom, my parents are divorced, and she was livid. Said I shouldn't give them a cent, especially since my grandma never even liked my dad's new wife in the first place. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my infertile sister to stop acting like she's my child's mom. I, 33 am, white, am married to my wife, 29 F, Thai, and we have a daughter, 2 F. My sister, 40 F, is single and childless and recently was told she doesn't have enough eggs to freeze and is therefore infertile. My sister is heavily involved in my daughter's life and has considered herself to be a second mom, which I was always supportive of until now. Let me explain why. I have never had the smoothest relationship with my parents, 61F and 65M. After I became independent, my parents started respecting me and my boundaries a little more because they knew that I wouldn't tolerate it. Things became complicated after I introduced my wife to my parents. They made it clear to me from day one that they were not happy about the fact that she's from a different culture. The problem is that my mom can be extremely passive-aggressive and snarky. She has a way of being disrespectful that is very subtle, and when you try to call her out on it she just gives you one of those, what did I do wrong pleading face, looks. For example, when my wife was trying to set up her own bridal shower, she really wanted my mom to be there but my mom said she was sick and couldn't go. Then, on that same day, she uploaded pictures on Facebook of going out with her friend, and when I asked her about it, she said, I felt better and just wanted to go get lunch with a friend. Is that a crime? There's 1,000 examples of this. Then my daughter was born, and my mom really started crossing the line. My daughter has a Thai name that my mom refuses to call her by. Instead she calls her Emily. When I call her out on it, she tries to be innocent and says, I'm just trying to form a bond with my granddaughter so I want to give her a nickname that only I can call her. Which is bullshit because she introduced my daughter to all her friends as Emily. I only knew it would get worse from here and decided to cut my mom off. I will not allow this racist, toxic poison to affect my daughter. Long story short, a big fight happened and everyone in my family got involved. My sister always takes my mom's side in these arguments. I've let it slide before, but I draw the line at anything that will harm my daughter's well-being. She called me up and said I was immature and that I wasn't thinking about what's best for my daughter. I lost it at her and said, you know what? You're not even her mom, so stop acting like it. My sister started crying and said I was being extremely cruel because she can't have kids. Stories number 13. I believe my parents resent me for starting my own family. I had somewhat of a revelation this weekend. I'm still processing how I feel about it and considering if I should confront my parents. Anyway, here it is. I believe my parents resent me for starting my own family. I, 40M, come from a big family. I'm the second oldest of 9 kids. My older sister, Jane, is just a year older than me. There is a 6-year gap between me and the next sibling, then my mom had a kid every 2 to 3 years. Since Jane and I were the oldest, we always helped with the little kids and the chores around the house. In fact, it was common for my parents and other adults to refer to us as Jane and OP and the kids. It's like Jane and I were not considered children, it's more like we were 2 other adults living in the house. We were homeschooled, so we were home all the time. Part of my job is that I would wake up, make breakfast for the kids, then get them started with their school or activities before I started my own schoolwork. Jane would sleep in because she was more of a night owl, and it was her job to help at night with the baby, because there was always a baby. Jane and I did most of the chores around the house. We took turns either cleaning the kitchen or doing the laundry, of which there was a lot. I did all the guy stuff, like mowing the yard and taking out the trash. As I got older, I would delegate some of these chores to my younger brothers, but it was still my responsibility to make sure it got done. Once I was old enough to drive, I would run errands and take the kids everywhere. I can't tell you how many times I would take the kids to things like playdates or doctor's appointments. I would often tuck the kids in bed and tell them stories. To me these things were all just normal, but looking back on it I was more like a second dad to the kids than a brother. Jane and I did have a lot of freedom as teenagers to go out with our friends, if the chores were done. We didn't have cell phones back then. If we wanted to go out we would just tell our parents we were going and they didn't care, as long as we were back by the next morning. I moved out when I was 20, but I still spent a lot of time at my parents', and one of my younger siblings was almost always at my house. One brother, JJ, pretty much lived with me since he was 14 because he and our mom didn't get along. When JJ was 17 he got in a wreck and he called me instead of calling dad, because I was just the one who handled those kinds of things. During all of this time my parents always talked about how important it was for Jane and I to help with the kids because they were so busy with their ministry. I can't count how many times I had to drop what I was doing to take care of something because mom or dad were counseling someone. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling. I hope I have painted an accurate picture of my childhood. Let's move on. I had not really dated much, but when I was 25 I met and started dating Anne. We fell in love fast, and got married less than a year later. My younger siblings love Anne. She is a great cook and hostess. Our house became the hangout spot. My younger siblings started calling her Mama Anne, something they still do to this day. We have now been married 15 years and have 2 kids of our own. My mom and Jane did not like Jane and get along okay now, but Anne and my mom do not have a good relationship. I never understood why, but I think I have finally figured out it's because they see it as and having taken me away. As Anne and I focused on our relationship and started a family, I spent less and less time doing things for my parents. My dad liked Anne at first, but over the past few years their relationship has soured. Throughout the years my dad has made comments to me about keeping up my responsibilities. One time he called me about one of the younger kids, who had gotten in a fight with my mom, and said, "You better get your brother and change his attitude. It's not okay how he treated your mom and you are going to make him apologize." A few years ago Anne and I set some boundaries with my parents, telling them we were not going to raise or discipline their kids. Our home is always open to my siblings, but we no longer let my parents try and use us to straighten them up. My parents have not taken this well. About a year ago Anne injured her foot and couldn't walk for a while. Just as she was getting better, I was diagnosed with kidney disease, which then turned into kidney failure. I've had several surgeries, with another one coming in a few weeks. It's been a rough year. During this time my parents have not only refused to help, they have actively made things harder for us. Things like promising to help with our kids but then canceling at the last minute, usually because something ministry-related came up. Recently my sister-in-law, who lives in another state, had a baby, and my mom has been staying with her and helping for the past 6 weeks. My SIL has said that mom is a godsend and is so wonderful. My dad has gone to help every weekend. This hurts me, because my mom wouldn't give us a single night to help with our youngest when he was born. Anyway, I'm sorry this post has turned out longer than I thought it would. I needed to get some of this off my chest. This weekend I was talking to another sister and telling her how I don't understand why mom and dad don't treat me like they do the rest of the kids, even Jane. It's like I'm not one of their children. And it just kind of hit me that they resent me for getting married and starting my own family and leaving them to raise their own kids. Part of me is relieved to finally realize why they treat me like they do, and part of me is sad. I'm kind of scared about this upcoming surgery, and I really wish I had a parent I could talk to about it. But I don't feel like I have parents, just some people that I co-parented my siblings with. Update: I spoke with my wife, Anne, about it last night. I said something along the lines of, I've realized that my parents resent me for starting my own family and not helping them as much, and that is why they treat me so differently. And I think you've been trying to gently tell me this for years but I was too dense to get it. We were sitting in the bed at the time, and she leaned over and patted me on the head and said, "You are so pretty." I laughed for like 10 minutes, it was a great emotional release. A lot of you said she sounds wonderful, and she really is. I just can't express how much I love her. About Jane, my older sister Jane did get married and start a family, about 2 years after I did. Jane and I had a falling out and didn't speak for several years, but we are okay now, just not very close. Our falling out was more about religion than anything. She is very religious like my parents, while I am not. I am religious and we attend church, but it's not our whole life like it is for my parents and Jane. Younger siblings, the youngest is 22, so they are all adults now. The second to youngest passed away several years ago, so there are 8 of us now. I am very close with all of my younger siblings. They still come hang out at my house all the time, and they are all great aunts and uncles to my kids. All of them, including Jane, are upset with how my parents treated me this past year. Help with my kids. While I am disappointed in my parents for not helping, I do not need their help. And then I have close friends, plus we both have siblings that help. Anne's parents live far away, but they help when they can. We really are okay and feel very blessed and loved with all help we have received. Therapy. Part of my kidney treatment plan includes access to a therapist, and I love her. She has been great in helping me learn to live with an illness. I'm not sure if she is the right person to speak with about my parents, but I will ask her and see if she can refer someone if not. I will wait until after my surgery to bring this up, as I need to just focus on that right now. Setting boundaries. When I say my parents won't help, it's not that they say they won't help, it's that they offer to help and then either bail at the last minute or they change the plans so much that it causes Anne and I a lot of stress. A few months ago Anne was sick and my mother offered to pick our kids up from school. It's a long story, but she kept changing things and making it very complicated and my youngest ended up being left alone for a little while and he got scared. After that, I had a harsh talk with my parents and told them how disappointed I was in them, and how I needed to focus on my health and they were making things worse. I told them they are not allowed to take my kids anywhere, and they are not allowed to just drop by at my house, and in fact they were not even allowed to offer to help, because my mom doesn't take no for an answer and will nag until she wears me down. My parents were mad about this but all 7 of my siblings took my side and rallied about me, and so my parents have respected that so far. Going no contact. A lot of people recommended going no contact. I don't want that. I still love my parents, even though they have not been great parents. My kids love them too, and I don't want to take that away. They are good grandparents, when they show up. I don't think my parents are awful people. I think they had this vision of how they wanted to have this big family and this big ministry and I think they just didn't realize the responsibilities they put on Jane and I. I have spoken to them in the past and expressed how it was messed up that they put so much on us as kids and they have apologized. Putting my parents on blast at their church, several people recommended going to their church and telling people how they have treated me. You don't understand this church, they would praise my parents for putting God and the ministry above everything else. These super religious people are crazy. I guess that's it for now. My surgery is in less than 2 weeks, so I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to put this thing with my parents on the back burner and later I will decide what, if anything, I'm going to do. Thanks again to everyone for your comments, it has really helped me work through some feelings. Update 2. Thanks to everyone who has reached out and wished me a speedy recovery. My surgery was last week and it is going better than expected. All the surgeries and treatments in the past year felt like it was just keeping me alive, but with this surgery, kidney transplant, I feel like I'm working towards getting my normal life back. It's been hard and painful, but I was expecting it to be worse so I can't complain at all. Anne is always telling me that she doesn't get enough credit for being funny, so the fact that so many of you laughed when she told me I was pretty has made her happy. She said, I like these Reddit people. This whole post started because I was having a conversation with one of my sisters, I'll call her 6, since I can't keep making up names. Plus, she is following this thread and will hate that I am calling her that. 6 had had a fight with our parents and I was sharing with her that Anne and I had recently set strong boundaries with them and encouraged her to do the same. So she did, and they did not take it well. This led to several conversations with different siblings, and both 5 and 9 also decided to set some boundaries. This has also led to other siblings deciding to confront our parents about how they have treated me this past year while I have been sick. Jane, the oldest, called me the day before my surgery to check on me, and we ended up talking about our childhood. We have not been close for a number of years, however I feel like we bonded on this call. It was interesting talking to her as an adult and reliving some things. She has been in therapy for a few years, and she said sometimes she will be talking, and her therapist will stop her and say, Jane, you just casually rolled through some messed up stuff. We need to stop and unpack this. For a long time I have blamed her for the way she treated me when we were younger, but now I am beginning to understand that she was also just a kid trying to cope. I have a lot more grace for her now. We have been texting a lot the past few weeks. My parents did come visit after the surgery, but we didn't talk about any family drama. My siblings have said they are not taking these new boundaries well at all. I hope that one day they wake up and realize that all 8 of their children are disappointed in them and they work to be better people, but I'm not holding my breath. It seems they are placing all the blame like they normally do, this is just an attack by the devil. And then I decided that moving forward we are going to continue low contact with strong boundaries. With such a large family going no contact would be hard and create a lot of awkward situations where we would still have to see them. We have also talked to our kids and they have both expressed they want to have a relationship with their grandparents. While I do not expect my parents to change, I do believe they will respect our boundaries. My attitude towards them has also changed. I no longer feel like I owe them anything. We will continue a relationship with them because it is what's best for my family, not because they deserve it. Lastly, I received a recommendation for a family therapist and I have an appointment scheduled for next month. New update. I have tried a bunch of times to write an update, but I end up either not being able to find the words or I ramble for 10 pages, mostly about my health. I'm just going to push through and I hope this makes sense. Shortly after my first post I had a kidney transplant, May of 2023. Recovering has been the main focus of my life but is not the point of this update, so I'll try to keep this part brief. Things were great just after the transplant and I recovered much quicker than anticipated. Then I got a stupid virus that caused some minor setbacks. That ending up leading to a bigger setback and my body began to reject the new kidney. It was not a fun time and I spent the holidays last year, 2024, in and out of the hospital undergoing various treatments. While the treatments were tough they did their job, my body is now showing no signs of rejection and the virus is under control. Maintaining my health and new kidney will be a lifelong journey, but right now everything is stable and I'm feeling better than I have since before I started getting sick in 2023. I had talked about how my older sister, Jane, and I didn't speak for years and when we finally did we kept our distance. She had reached out after I made my first post and I was starting to work through some things and we talked about how we were raised. We had both recently learned the term, prettification, and we talked about that. We trauma bonded, another term I had recently learned, and started talking more. Her family ended up coming in town late in 2023 and stayed for a few weeks and we really got a chance to talk and connect. I had judged her harshly for things she had done during our childhood, but came to realize she was just a kid who was under a lot of pressure forced to raise a bunch of kids and she was desperate to have some control in her life, and that just happened to be me. There was lots of tears and apologizes on both sides, because I was not always kind to her either. We have become closer than we ever have been and talk a couple of times a month. My family is going to visit her family this summer. Our kids are excited as they have become close as well. I'm not sure how to tackle this next part about my parents. My first post was prompted because some drama with my parents and several siblings had come to a head, including how my parents had not been helpful while I was dealing my kidney issues. We all banded together and set strong boundaries with our parents, which they did not take well at first. Someone said, "It sounds like you and your siblings are bullying your parents into being better people," and that might be the best way to describe what happened. Just before my surgery I had a very blunt conversation with my parents. I had prepared for it and written out key points I wanted to say. I was not angry when we spoke and just clearly laid out several examples of how they had not only failed to help but had made things harder for my family while I was sick. I basically told them I did not need or want their help because I could not trust them. Something about that and my siblings all coming together seemed to make something click with my dad. He didn't say much at the time but he also didn't defend himself or try to shift the blame. Over the next few months they would text about once a week to check in. If we were feeling up to it I would invite them to stop by and they did. A few times they offered to drop off a meal and we accepted. The few times I was not feeling up to it they did not push. This was all part of the boundaries I had set and they respected it. A lot of things started changing over that year. Honestly I think someone showed them my post, my siblings all knew about it, and I think everyone in the comments calling them out had an effect. So thanks to everyone for that. They quit their church, which was a shocker to all of us. Mom called several siblings and asked for specific examples of how she had let them down, and actually listened and didn't defend or deflect. The last of the younger siblings moved out on their own and that really changed the dynamic of their relationship. I can't say exactly when or why it happened, but over the course of 2023 things changed, seemingly for the better. My parents started doing more things with my kids and actually showing up for events. I saw they were making an effort and had a talk with them, telling them that if they really wanted to connect that they would have to find things my kids liked and figure out a way to participate. I told them they can't just plan something they want to do and expect my kids to tag along. My dad found a hobby that my oldest was interested in and they have gone down a whole rabbit hole with that. My mom and youngest discovered a restaurant they really like and they go there together. It's not perfect but they are building a relationship that seems healthy. My wife and I are still cautious but optimistic. As for my relationship with them, I have just kind of disconnected emotionally. As a teenager I read Ender's Game and I related to Ender, in the way the adults were always setting him up so that he knew he would never have backup. He had to win on his own or die trying. I felt like that most of my life. No backup, no support from any adult, just me, and later my wife. I've built my own support system with my peers, and that's good enough. I'm glad my kids are finally getting decent grandparents, but I'll never have a serious conversation with my parents about what's going on with me. On hard days I have my wife and a few close friends, and I feel incredibly lucky as that's more than a lot of people. Well, I'm going to stop there before I really start to just ramble. Thanks to everyone who has reached out to offer support and kind words. Hearing stories from people with similar backgrounds can be very comforting. Stories number 14. Aita for refusing to be an unpaid maid for my BFF. Am I wrong for telling her her expectations should be that her husband cleans their house? Am I wrong for saying she should be grateful for the help I'm offering, not expect more? Asshole. I was planning to fly over and help my BFF kick labor into action the 2 weeks running up to her due date. I had planned to help out with the school run of her 2 other kids, take my BFF on long walks and catch up on some good old British TV all day whilst they were at school. At her hospital appointment on Monday she found out she needs to have the baby via C-section, 2 weeks early. So about 24 to 48 hours after I get through her door, she called me all apologetic. I said, yeah, not ideal, there would be no TV anymore, but I can at least help my BFF with her 2 oldest whom I love. She said, yeah, you'd need to have main responsibility for the household, cleaning, dishes, cooking, hovering, etc. I said, nah, I can do a meal or 2, wash up after a meal or 2, but I'm not cleaning your bathroom or your kitchen on my holiday with my own home I could clean when your husband is also there. 2 weeks paternity leave. She got very upset with me, said that my pride is in the way of helping her, that I'm not willing to support both her and her husband. Said her expectations of me were to clean and look after the kids, and her expectations of her husband was to bond with the new one, and if he had time energy for him to help me a bit with the housework, and if I wasn't willing to do that she'd refund my flight ticket. Am I the a-holy or what? Is this normal expectation? Should I still go and be the BFF she needs? Am I wrong for feeling like her expectations should be that her husband cleans their house? Am I wrong for thinking she should be grateful for the help I'm offering, not expect more from me than her husband whom she chose to have 3 children with? Edit. I am English when I use the word holiday, it does not mean beach and hotel, it means the period of time when you are not at work, normally 4 to 6 weeks paid leave a year. Mine are usually used to help visit my best friend. I paid for the tickets, like I usually do, hence the word refund. My flight is July 2nd. The original due date July 19th. My flight back July 21st. I visited, hopefully visit doesn't mean the equivalent of holiday, 3 weeks before the previous child successfully. Best friend of over a decade, played at their wedding, given, and happily taken, title auntie by their first. Help with the 2 children under 10, so that they got time to just focus on the new one. So that includes everything a child must do throughout the day, bedtime, food, homework, take them to activities, iron school uniform, pack and make lunches, those that know. I'd normally clean during the adverts, it's the expectation that is getting me turned upside down. And the fact there's no more TV time. Stories number 15. I had our baby and my partner won't split the $12,000 hospital bill with me. $12,000 is the total we need to pay after having our daughter. My partner refuses to contribute because it's my bill, my problem. The hospital bill's the mother and not the father even though it's our baby. My partner makes slightly more than me. He says he shouldn't need to contribute because he pays for everything else for our daughter. I feel that this isn't fair. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Bro, that's actually insane of him. WTF will he do if you get sick? Like literally you made a human together and suddenly it's not his problem. What the actual fuck? Reply, he thinks it's not his problem because legally it's not. He said I was billed and he wasn't billed. He said the mother is the patient and I was the patient and the bill is under my name so it's my bill. He also said, you don't pay for my medical bills, it's your hospital bill under your name. No one told you to take an epidural which cost $2,000 of the bill. Commenter 2, wow. If he has parents, call them. Either way, I would be looking for a way out if I were you. That is incredibly fucked up. Reply, I don't think his parents would care about this. They honestly aren't gonna want to get involved in our relationship like that. They would just tell us to figure it out as a couple. OOP should give her baby her family name instead of the father's name. Reply, it's too late for that. My baby was born 5 months ago. My baby has the father's name. Can OOP file for child support and make it legally her partner's problem? OOP, if I file for child support, he still wouldn't be legally obligated to pay for my medical bill. I would have to use child support for my baby which isn't a lot of money to begin with so I can't just use it on my medical bills. OOP responds to a comment on if she is allowed to change her baby's last name. Reply, I don't think I can. I googled it. I would have to do so much work like file position and get the consent of the father which he won't allow me to do, also attended court hearing, obtaining court hearing and amend the birth certificate. And most likely it wouldn't get approved. That's a lot of work and stress. Anyways, changing the last name of the baby isn't my main concern, I don't care if my baby has his last name. Why is the cost so much? Doesn't OOP have health insurance that would cover the hospital bill? Reply, that's the cost after insurance. I had complications. And honestly, I expected it to cost more. OOP explains her state laws on who pays the hospital bill. Reply, even if we were married it wouldn't change anything. In my state it isn't required for your spouse to pay your medical bills. I was venting to my friends about this and one of my friends is in law and she said even if I was married, my spouse wouldn't be automatically liable for the medical debt of your partner. It depends on what state and it's a slippery slope. Why is OOP staying with her partner? Reply, I do love him, it is also financial security. It's impossible to live off one income especially now with a baby. Update. My partner was acting weird the other day when I grabbed his phone to call my phone to find it. I couldn't get his reaction out of my head when he freaked out when I grabbed his phone. I went through his phone. My partner cheated on me while I was pregnant. He claims he didn't cheat on me because it doesn't count because it was a white girl. WTF. He had sex with her because it was a one-time opportunity that he always wanted to try. This is the stupidest thing anyone ever said to me. He said it wasn't serious and I know that he's not cuffing no white girl. How he's still here with me and our baby at the end of the day. A man may wander around but he always comes home to his family at the end of the day. Wow, I don't know what to do. Leaving is the first thing that comes to mind. But I'm a new mother. I just had a baby. We're stuck in a lease together for another year. I can't afford to be on my own. I have to stay here regardless and I'm just gonna make it awkward for breaking up with him just to still come home to him every day. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, this is where the 50-50 culture gets women. Now men don't want to pay the hospital bills for the birth of their legacies. What is happening with men right now? And still he will expect the baby to have his last name. Women are getting scammed in these relationships. This is why so many women don't want to get married and have children anymore. Women are doing everything alone. Women need to put everything on paper and make these guys understand that 50-50 in a marriage is not right. You're giving more than your share because you can literally die giving birth. Your body and your mind will change forever. Women will keep getting played by patriarchy if we don't stop romanticizing men. It's the most dangerous and reckless thing we can do. Make them sign prenups, agreements and clauses, otherwise you will be exploited by men. Reply, period. 50-50 only benefits the man. They want us to work full-time, pay half the bills, and be a maid and nanny while all they do is also work. Make it make sense. Commenter 2, his excuses are lame and you know it. Start making an exit plan. Even if it does take you some time to get it organized. He will cheat again, but will think it's Jine because it wasn't serious and he comes back to you at the end of the day. Wishing you strength. Commenter 3, call upon your community. You deserve support. If it's NBD and all men do it, then he will have no issue with that. You're allowed to want and expect a faithful partner. I am truly sorry. You have nothing to be ashamed about. All you know with certainty is that he will cheat on you at your most vulnerable and qualify himself instead of apologize. Also, please get tested for STDs, and encourage him to do so as well. None should be kissing infants, but parents do because you love your child, but safety truly matters. Commenter 4, seriously, you might not be able to get out right now, start planning. You stay long term and he's learned he can continue to cheat. He's pretty much told you that is his plan. Men may wander, but they come home. Well, whoop-dee-fucking-do. That is little consolation. Speak to trusted friends and family. Ones you can be sure won't tell him your plans. See if they can help in any way. Once you get a plan, speak to your landlord and explain the situation. See if they'll remove you from the lease. If not, find out how you, not him, can get out of it. What will it take? Update 2, I can't get out of my lease. I've tried. I'm stuck in this lease with him for another year. We're going to be cohabiting and co-parenting. I feel so alone. We go to bed together and I feel like we're still together but we're not. Our relationship is over. I don't think I can ever get past the cheating. He says his affair doesn't count because it was a one-time opportunity with a white girl, but is it crazy that I would have been less hurt and possibly forgave him if he slept with a black girl instead? Maybe it's my own insecurities showing. I'm trying my best to get out of the apartment more and stay busy. Going home isn't really home anymore. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, sign his phone number up for every annoying spammy service you can find. Reply, LOL, this would actually irritate him. OOP explains her ex's thoughts on the meaning of cheating. Reply, so his stance on this is one-sided. He thinks men can cheat no strings attached because he says men can have sex with women without emotions and he can continue with his day and forget it happened, but women can't do the same thing and it'll stick to her. He says when a man cheats he just needs a time and a place, but when a woman chats she needs a reason. He actually thinks that sperm DNA is a real thing too. Like he said, every guy that nuts in a woman their baby has those guys' DNA or those men's behavior or physical features of every guy she's ever slept with, so he says it's best to have a baby with a virgin. I wasn't a virgin when I met him, but I have a low sex count, and he says that's good enough since most women are promiscuous, and this is probably the best he's gonna get body count wise. So basically he thinks if a woman cheats she's a hoe, but when a man cheats he's a king because he's not a loser. If women find him attractive that means he's doing something right. He said, when men have a bunch do women around him, everyone, men and women included, think he's cool, but when there's a bunch of men around one woman everyone's like EWHOE, it's a double standard FO sure. The crazy part is I'm kind of buying his BS, even though I know this shit he's saying is insane, but I literally can't refute any of this except the stupid sperm DNA stuff that was just illiterate AF, and he clearly skipped out on biology classes. He claims the sperm DNA stuff comes from studies and research. Does OOP have family or friends she can go for support? Reply, I really don't. Stories number 16. Aita for cleaning poop off my female friend. I will try to make this short, so here goes. I am a 30-year-old married man. We recently had a party at our place for some close friends after COVID. 7 of us total. By different circumstances, we don't have much family, and we decided that we would be our bubble of people that we would see during COVID times. 4 women and 3 guys. Long story short, we drank quite a bit and everyone was planning at crashing at our place. No big deal, nothing unusual. The one girl there that recently became single drank a lot, likely due to the breakup, and passed out on the floor. I moved her onto the couch near us so we could continue talking while monitoring her, didn't want her to choke on puke or something. Well, eventually she stirs, rolls over and reveals that she has pooped herself down her skirt and down her legs, also on my couch, but it was a shitty couch. Now it was a really shitty couch. Everyone laughs at first, then starts gagging. The couples basically say that's a sign the night is over and they start going to their rooms. Well, I'm the lone holdout that we can't just leave her covered in poop. My wife was too drunk to help and went to bed. I was conflicted because this was a close friend, so I did what I thought was best. I grabbed baby wipes and cleaned her up. To be clear, I did not touch her vagina at all. I did clean the poop off her butt and just quickly ran a wipe through her butt crack. I'm a nurse, so I have a super strong gag reflex. I slept on the couch next to her just in case I heard her choking. Next morning everyone wakes up and comes to see their friend covered in poop. Well, she's not anymore, and that's when it starts. I can't believe you did that, that's assault. You basically groped her. My wife was no help, which hurt badly, and implied that I should have gotten her to do it. Despite the fact that she was way too drunk to help, I feel like my friends aren't messaging me as much anymore and I'm being excluded. Today was the final straw when I looked at my wife's phone and saw a group chat of the girls, and one of my best friends suggested the passed out girl file a police report. I don't know what to do. I'm so frustrated because I tried to do the right thing. I'm a goddamned nurse. Cleaning poop off someone is so clinical and practiced it's almost routine at this point. TLDR, cleaned poop off a drunk female friend. Now other friends are ostracizing me and basically labeling me a predator. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. What did the person who made dookie in her pants say about the situation? You're only the asshole if she believes you assaulted her. If not, then you literally were just helping a friend so they wouldn't have to sleep in their own shit all night. Reply. She didn't say anything day of, but she seems conflicted in the messages. She's almost seeming receptive of filing a police report. Commenter 2. That said, I'm disappointed in the behavior of your friends and wife. They suck. You didn't mean to offend anyone or hurt anyone. You did what you thought was best and given your background and the situation. That also said, have a lawyer's number just in case they pursue this further. It sucks that I even have to say that. Reply. This comment broke me. I can't believe I have to consider having a lawyer right now. OOP on if the woman was pretty. My wife is insanely more attractive. She's pretty, but nothing I would risk my wife over. Edit. I responded to this without thinking. Yes, she's pretty, but if she was a horrible ogre of a woman I would have done the same thing. Same as if it was a guy friend or anyone. I hate to sound like a mindless drone, but I have so much training for things like this it's almost autopilot. I don't really know how to articulate it better. Top comment. NTA, you're a literal nurse and clean someone up in as much of a professional way as possible. I can understand them feeling embarrassed, but I don't see that as assault. You cleaned up your friend's shit, you're the MVP of friends. Edit. Everyone is asking. Not same couch same room, different couch. Sorry, that was vague. The girl who had the accident was horribly embarrassed the next day and left shortly after. I didn't harp on it because I was trying to not embarrass her even as everyone was calling me out. I apologized day of, which in hindsight, kinda makes me look guilty of something. Edit 2, I didn't expect this to become so big. I had to sleep, so that's why the lack of replies. Basically, I'll try to answer the questions I saw over and over. I am in Canada. So when I said post-COVID, what I meant is my province is introducing social bubbles of people that interact with only those specific people. I recognize that COVID is still very much a pandemic. I've also seen a lot of people mentioning that I should stop associating with those people. This makes sense except for the fact, I'm not sure I mentioned, we all became close because we don't have other family. They are really all I have. My wife was one of those close friends before we got married, which is why she still has those private chats, I guess. We also have a young child together, which is why I even had baby wipes in the first place. So leaving my wife really isn't an option I'm even entertaining, despite the literal hole I feel in my chest over this. And no, this may be a horrible thing, but I didn't have permission to read my wife's phone. She got a message on her phone, I picked it up and it unlocked for my face. Her face unlocks my phone as well, we don't really have secrets that way. The messages were right there, roughly 10 back and forth, and I couldn't help but read them. I know that's a violation of her privacy and I wouldn't normally do that. I appreciate a lot of people saying that I was okay in my actions, but this will be the last response I make on this. The negative comments and messages I have been receiving privately are too much to take. The positivity sent by some people is outstanding and I'm so thankful. I can't keep reading messages that I'm a rapist or that I sexually assaulted my friend. After the pandemic, working insane hours, taking care of a baby, and now this. I'm emotionally drained to a point I've never been to. Update. Aita for cleaning poop off my female friend. Update. Hi all. I apologize for a long delay. I meant to update sooner, but I just couldn't find the energy. I'll try to touch the important parts. It's been a whirlwind few months and I can't believe where I'm at now. I spoke with the friend that I cleaned up a few weeks afterwards privately. Good news on that front. She was actually horribly embarrassed and wasn't upset with me at all. She was grateful that I had cleaned her up and apologized for the couch, which needed to be replaced anyways, so no big deal. We started talking afterwards a bit more openly, and that's where everything fell apart. I mentioned that I saw comments on my wife's phone about calling police and filing a report. Well, as much as it hurts to say this, due to the speed I read the messages at, I misunderstood. It was my wife that suggested it, not one of the other girls as I had thought. The friend showed me the conversation on her phone and let me read through it. Honestly devastating. I could feel my heart drop into my stomach and I just felt cold. Turns out my wife has wanted to leave me for a while and she tried to capitalize on this as a reason. We have tried online webcam couple counseling the last 2 months, but I can't shake the feeling of being betrayed. It's over. We unofficially split 2 weeks ago but have not announced our separation. I am speaking with a lawyer for what I need to do for a divorce, something I never thought I would deal with. I walked away with enough money to rent a small place, my vehicle, my clothes, and my phone. I can't bring myself to take anything from her, so I gave her the house, 95% of our bank account, and she kept her SUV. I'm still in love with her and I just wanted her to be safe in a comfortable home without anything to worry about. I make good money, so I'll be fine eventually. Our friends know something is going on but aren't 100%. The suspicions are definitely there. I take some solace knowing that she was planning to leave me regardless and my actions likely had little impact other than being the match that she needed to start the fire. I'm sorry if this isn't the update you wanted, but I guess sometimes things don't work out with a storybook ending. This isn't all bad though. I am still optimistic for the future. I don't want to date, Jesus, how do you even meet girls, and I don't want to do anything but bury myself in work, which is plentiful due to COVID. I've signed up for double shifts everywhere possible and may take another job just for the distraction. Hopefully everyone is safe during COVID times. It's real, wear a mask and social distance, and thank you for the responses. I appreciate both the positive and negative comments. I think, at the end of the day, if the situation happened again, would still do the same. I believe I'm a good person and that I acted with the best intentions. At the end of the day, I don't have to live with anyone but myself. I'm proud of me. TLDR, wiped poop off a friend, now I'm single and not ready to mingle. Stories number 17. Aita for pretending to be bad at cooking just so my roommate stops asking me to cook for her boyfriend. So I, 21F, live with my roommate, let's call her Megan, 22F. We're not BFFs or anything, just college roommates who get along fine. I like to cook nothing fancy, just home-style stuff. I make a mean-baked ziti and my garlic bread has literally made people emotional, not joking, someone teared up once, but that might have been mid-breakup lol. Anyway, a few weeks ago, Megan's boyfriend came over while I was making dinner. I offered him a plate because I'm not rude, and he was super polite about it. He ended up loving the food. Like, full-on food critic mode. Said it was better than his mom's cooking, which felt like a red flag for him, but whatever. Well, after that, every time he comes over, which is like 4 times a week, Megan starts with, "Oh my god, are you making dinner? He'd love your chicken again," or, "You should totally make that pasta thing tonight, you're so good at it." At first, I didn't mind. I like cooking and it felt nice to be appreciated. But then it became expected. Like she just started assuming I'd cook for them both while they cuddled and watched Love Island in the living room. I'd be at the stove, they're under a blanket, and suddenly I'm their private chef. So last week, I had enough. I decided to fake being terrible. I boiled pasta with no salt. I overcooked chicken until it was basically drywall. I forgot to add spices. I served it like, "Here you go." Megan took one bite and was like, "What happened?" And I just said, "Oh, I tried something new." Her boyfriend was polite, but his face said, "Please no more." Now Megan keeps making little passive comments like, "I miss when you actually cooked good meals," and "You used to put effort into stuff." But I never agreed to be the in-house cook. I'm not HelloFresh with a heartbeat. Anyway, she seems annoyed with me now and says I'm being weird and passive. I kinda feel bad because I do like sharing food, but it was getting out of hand. So AITA for faking bad cooking just to make my roommate stop expecting free meals. Extra note, I still cook good food, for me. I eat it when they're out or when I know he's not coming over. My taste buds are thriving. Stories number 18. I, 31F, had a conversation with my BF, 31M, and the rose-tinted glasses came off. How can I navigate this? Hello all. I, 31F, have been with my partner, 31M, for 112 years. We love each other. It has been rocky at times and we have nearly been through a breakup, but each time we talked it out and believed we pulled through. The main subject of contention has always been his hobby and subsequent club. He is on the volunteer committee, has meetings every Monday and goes every Wednesday and Thursday evening along with some Friday evenings as well as Saturday and Sunday mornings. He also spends several weekends away out of the year to do the hobby and uses holiday time for it too. He does admin outside of this also and has been in trouble at work for doing said admin during work hours and has even done admin during our quality time. There have been several incidents at the club, and with him being on the committee, he has spent a lot of time dealing with it. So much so it affects his mental health poorly. He has even cancelled plans and changed date nights with me to prioritize his hobby. This has caused many arguments and conversations which stem from him making a hobby his priority and how he wants me to just slot into his current lifestyle. I explained that this couldn't happen and we have compromised to try and make it work. I believe things had turned a corner. However, something changed today. I'm bisexual. The local pride parade is coming up and I expressed my want to go. We did not make any explicit plans to go together, but he stated if he was available, he would go. He knows how excited I was at this prospect and knows how much this means to me. However, he messaged me to say he was now doing his hobby instead and couldn't go. Now, he said he was asked to go and asked me if this was okay. I felt like I couldn't say no, as in the past I've said no and been made to feel guilty because I'm stopping him from doing his hobby. I'm not that kind of person. People make choices. That's their decision, not mine. However, I asked him if he ever wanted to go to the Pride event and he said, I would have, but my hobby is more important. And then something in me just clicked. This event is important to me. It's something I'm excited about. It's something I want to do. The amount of times I've sat and taken him to his hobby, watched, helped and supported him without fail and sometimes without being asked. He doesn't do the same for me, because it's not as important to him. It felt like he was saying, I'm not interested in the thing that you find important because it's not important to me, and by extension, you're not as important as my hobby. I didn't feel anger, or hurt or disappointed. In fact, I didn't feel anything, and that's it. I didn't feel anything for or from him. No love. No support. No companionship. Nothing. All the times I'd given up my time, wants and needs to support him, and yet here I am with something very important to me and nothing. I felt nothing. The option was there. There was a choice. But I'm conflicted. I love him. We've navigated things before. How can I navigate this further? What advice would you give someone? Any advice, strangers of Reddit, would be appreciated. Edited update. Thank you all for the comments. I'm reading through each one as we speak. I might not reply because I'm still soaking in all the insight. Common questions. To those asking what the hobby is, it's a sport and a very niche one, so I'm not going to detail what it is because that's not fair on that sport or the people in it. He isn't cheating. I've been with him on the weekends and taken him to the sport. No, I'm not karma fishing. Thanks bot accusers. Throw away new account as I posted on my old account and didn't interact enough, hence throwaway. I honestly don't care for the whole karma thing. I'm seeing him tonight and will show him the post. Stories number 19. AIO for demanding my father pay for the replacement of my Invisalign that he threw away purposely. To keep this short, my father has a habit of throwing other people's things away without asking. Few examples. One day I brought a kebab for lunch but didn't finish it and planned to have the other half of it for dinner. I put it in the fridge at 12 p.m., by 7 p.m. that night I came down and it was gone. I asked if someone ate it and my dad just said, I threw it away, and when I got mad he said, don't leave half-eaten things in the fridge. In my country, if you collect cans or recyclable bottles, you can trade them in for 10c each. My mother had a whole basket she had been collecting that had about 80 cans in it. She kept it in the garage and one day she came to find it was gone. She asked my dad and he said he threw it away. Obviously my mother was mad not because of the money, but because she spent time collecting them and he didn't consult her before throwing it out, nor did he care. We keep our sneakers and boots, shoes we don't wear often, in the garage. My mum brought a new pair of sneakers and put them on the shoe rack, so now she had 2 sneakers. She went to work with the new pair and then came home and her second pair were gone. She asked my dad and he said he there then away, didn't even ask if she was still going to use them and they were $100 sneakers. Now, I kept my box of Invisalign retainers in a backpack in my room and hidden in the closet. Yes, I'll admit the backpack had rubbish in it, 3 or 4 empty bottles of water and iced tea, and papers and books. Sometimes I can be messy but I always clean out my bag every week and there wasn't any food in there. I came home from uni yesterday to find everything in that bag gone, including the box of my 15 Invisalign trays. The only person who goes through people's stuff in my house is my father, and my mother has had Invisalign in the past so she would know not to touch my box. I know he threw them out because I searched my entire room for them and didn't find anything. I've never lost a box before. I always know where I keep them, so there's absolutely no way they vanished. I confronted him and he said he doesn't remember, he just threw what was in the bag away. I'm absolutely furious. Not only did he just go into my room and throw them away, but he's refusing to pay to have them replaced, and it may be up to 3,000 Australian dollars, as my health insurance doesn't cover lost or damaged Invisalign. My father said I'm disrespectful for confronting him and being so angry as well as demanding that he pay the cost of replacement. What do I do? This was my last 15 trays as well. I was due to finish by June after 2 years of treatment, now I'll have to wait and pay extra all because he threw my stuff out. Also, my father has not paid a single dollar for my Invisalign treatment. I'm 19 and paid $9,000 for it, plus $1,000 for tooth extractions I had to have as my mouth was too small for all my teeth. None of this is covered by private health insurance, so I have spent $10,000 on my teeth, all of my own money, because they have been a huge insecurity of mine and also have affected the way I eat. One more thing, the box is clearly labeled Invisalign and it has my full name on it. It wasn't some random black box that could have had anything in it. Anyone who can read would know that it was an Invisalign box and it was heavy as it had 15 aligners in it, so the excuse of, I thought it was empty, is not valid either. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, no offense, but this level of disrespectful behavior towards the entire family would make me willingly throw hands with him if he was my father. If you're refusing to pay and you've cost the house thousands of dollars because you don't give a shit and just throw other people's stuff away, which is rude as hell, BTW, no sense of privacy, ownership, or personal space, I will box you over your BS. Nor you might be underreacting. Is it possible to sue for damages? I mean, it's a he said she said, but he should face repercussions. He needs to. Not everything can be decided by him. Reply, I know. My mother and I are tired of it, but my father is not a nice person and is quite angry. If we try and speak up he will either dismiss us or get verbally abusive or even physically. He almost lost it at my mother when she was asking why he threw away her cans, and she wasn't even shouting, she was just asking why. We are a house full of girls excluding him, so it's tough. Commenter 2, sorry, I can't get past the don't leave half-eaten things in the fridge. Where the fuck else do we store leftovers? The fridge is the only correct place for half-eaten things. Your father is an insane asshole. Damaged or lost isn't covered, but what about theft? Might have to file a police report, but $3,000 is worth it, I'd say. He can find out the hard way not to fuck with other people's stuff. Reply, yep, he's crazy like that. He has an insane habit of throwing things out in the fridge. No one in our family has time to cook every day, so usually we cook in bulk for 3 days then cook again. If I cook pasta and he sees it in the fridge for more than 1 day, he just throws the whole thing out. Once I brought garlic mince, it was brand new and I had only used it once before he threw it out even though the expiry date wasn't until next year. He said it was cluttering the fridge. I brought tomatoes to make pasta and lasagna for a friend's dinner, I brought about 4 tomatoes plus the ones I already had in the fridge because they weren't going to be enough, and he threw the ones we already had in the fridge out although they were still fresh. I can list so many more examples. Commenter 3, NTA I can't believe he's gotten away with this behavior for so long. I would take him to small claims court if he won't replace them. Reply, thanks for the advice. I'm just not sure how that would work because it's really my word against his, and he could argue that I lost them, although my dentist could confirm and say I would never because I take great care of my Invisalign. I don't have any photo evidence that it was in the bag, nor that he threw it out. Commenter 4, so he doesn't work, pay bills, is abusive, and spends his days throwing out his family's expensive property. Why does your mom tolerate this? Why doesn't she kick him out or divorce him? It's time to make an exit strategy. Reply, my mother doesn't believe in divorce unless cheating has happened. For all she knows my father has never been unfaithful so. I ask her that all the time though. Why don't you just divorce him? I've actually been asking her to divorce him since I was 10 years old. But anyways. I will never know. Commenter 5, it sounds like your dad needs to learn how it feels for stuff to be thrown away, maybe. Reply, I wish. He'd beat me if I did that. OOP on if she was able to retrieve anything from the trash bins. Reply, unfortunately no, our trash gets taken away on Friday, I realized on Saturday and checked the trash but there was nothing there. My dad usually waits to throw things out right before the trash is collected so we can't retrieve it. He did that with my mother's cans and when she came home from work it was too late to get them as she came home at 5 p.m. on a Friday and the trash had been collected at 10 a.m. that day. Update. I have a bittersweet update. The sweet part is that I called my dentist and explained everything to them. They told me not to worry and that they will replace all the aligners for free and that they will be ready for pickup next week. They sympathized with me and my situation, as well as acknowledged that I am a good patient and do not have any prior history of losing or damaging my aligners. Unfortunately it will add some time to my treatment but only an extra month or so which I am fine with. The bitter part. My mother and I confronted my father about this. We tried to be civil and just ask why he threw them out and if he knew how expensive they are. He completely dismissed us, for angry and walked away. We tried to reason with him but he just scoffed and said, I don't need this drama right now. A few hours later my mother lectured him on how he keeps throwing our things away and that he has to put an end to this behavior or she will start throwing his things out as well. I'm a bit surprised because I was terrified he would start yelling but nope, he was just watching TV and completely ignoring her while she was giving him an earful. This morning he left the house before 6 because when my mother woke up he was already gone, and he hasn't come home since or messaged us. It's 4:20 p.m. right now in AUS. He's unemployed so I don't know where the heck he's gone, but I don't really care. If anything groundbreaking happens, I will let you guys know. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, hang on. He's unemployed but throwing all these things out. You sure he is? New shoes, if hardly worn still might sell for a quick $50. I think there might be a bigger issue at play here. Other than the power play. Reply, I've been thinking about that, but the things he usually throws out are just so stupid and valueless, money-wise. Like the food in our fridge, you can't resell a cold, half-eaten kebab. The cans, he could have traded them in but why go through all that trouble for $8? They are 10 cents each. My mother's shoes, he threw away the old pair, although she explicitly said she would use the old pair for the gym and the new one for work. The old pair were a bit torn, probably could only sell for $20 at most. My Invisalign, I have a feeling he threw them away out of spite because he asked me to loan him $1,000 a few weeks ago and I didn't give him the money. But even then, you can't sell someone else's Invisalign, they are molded directly to your teeth. I definitely think it's just a power trip for him and he enjoys seeing us frustrated. Commenter 2, but maybe your father didn't know that. Reply, oh he knows. We've all had dental treatment in our family. My mother had Invisalign 3 years ago, my sister had braces and now she wears retainers, my father also had braces when he was in his 30s and he had to wear a retainer. He's more than familiar with this stuff. What does OOP's father need the money for? And is he planning to pay OOP back? Reply, yeah WTF on the loan. That's exactly what I thought too. He said he needed it because he had no savings left after being unemployed for 5, now 6, months. I knew I would never see that money again so I obviously said no, especially since he wasn't trying or putting any effort into getting employment. I understand the job market is tough right now but a man of his age, work experience and qualifications should not be unemployed for that long. He's 54, has worked in banks for 15 plus years, has 2 bachelor's and a master's degree in the finance, analytics and mathematics field. He's just being lazy and not looking for a job because he knows my mother can afford to and will have to hold it down for us. So I refused to give him money. The reason I agreed to that statement was because he's a very educated man. He's lived in Australia for more than 20 years, is a citizen, has a degree from his home country and two including a master's from AG08 in Australia. His work experience has also been very good as he's worked at top banks in senior positions. With all that in mind and his age, there's no reason why he shouldn't have a job. Many places would die to hire him just from his resume alone. I can understand if a 22-year-old fresh graduate from a regular university is struggling to find a job with a bachelor's, but someone like him shouldn't. Has OOP's father been doing the chores at home since he is not working? Reply: I do the grocery shopping and pay for it. I clean on weekdays when I don't have university and my mum deep cleans on the weekends when she's supposed to be resting from working all week. He does do the dishes occasionally but only because my mother and I got fed up with doing that too when he was gone all day, so he knows if he doesn't do it, the dishes will pile up. Apart from that he doesn't really do much apart from watch TV. Sometimes he takes my sister to her after school activities as well, but that's only because my mother is still at work, so if he doesn't take her then no one will be able to. Has OOP's father done this throwing things away before he became unemployed? Reply: yes he did, which is what confuses me. I doubt it's a money thing and more of a, I hate you people I want you to suffer, type of thing. New update. So, as you may know, I'm the 19-year-old girl who has the crazy father that throws her family's belongings away. If you have read my posts yet, read the very first one for some context. Anyways, please don't hate on me here, but I just thought I would update. I'm starting my own online business and was doing odd cleaning jobs here and there for some of my uncle's NDIS clients. I got $500 and they paid me in cash for it. No, I'm not trying to tax evade, I just wanted cash so I wouldn't spend it straight away. I was planning to use that $500 to purchase inventory for my business. I kept the money in my university bag zipped up in a small pocket on the inside and I hid the bag under my bed. Most Aussies will know that now we are on semester break at university, so I've been home all day studying and spend most of my time in my room apart from when I'm taking a shower. Today I went to get the money to deposit it into the bank as my supplier sent me the invoice for payment, and lo and behold, $100 is gone. I was so beyond livid because I really worked hard for this money. I hate cleaning, and my bill was exactly $500, so now I'm short $100 and will have to dip into my savings to pay. I told my mother and she was so disgusted and upset for me. I don't know what we are going to do, but yes, I know I'm an idiot for leaving it in my bag, so go ahead and tell me I'm an idiot in the comments, but truly I haven't left the house in the past 2 weeks. I deposited the money about a week ago, and I genuinely thought it would be safe in there because my father spends most of his time downstairs watching TV, so I thought I'd be able to catch him if he tried to steal anything. So yeah. We have a literal thief in the house who waits until I'm in the shower to take money from my bag. By the way, I know it's not my sister because she knows I'll kill her if she takes my money and she doesn't like coming into my room anyways, and I know it's not my mother because she doesn't even let me pay for lunch when I offer to take her out. She would never steal from me, also she's employed, doesn't need my money, so that leaves one suspect, the notorious thief of the house. I'm so sick and tired of this, nothing is safe and I feel so defeated. What kind of father steals money from his own daughter that she worked for? Thanks for reading, guys. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, can you install a camera in your room? You may catch him looking through your stuff. Reply: yes, I am definitely getting a camera for my bedroom now. This has gone too far. Commenter 2, this sounds like something no one should have to do in their home, but you need to get a locking box of some sort for your Invisalign and other expensive items, or a lock on your bedroom door. It sounds like your mother will support this. Reply: thank you for your reply. Yes, I am going to get a lockbox safe of some sort and keep the key on my neck as a necklace, cause knowing him he will dig for the key if I leave it anywhere. I'm in Australia, so locks on bedroom doors are not common and are only really seen on bathroom doors. My mother would support me getting a lock on my bedroom door, but my father wouldn't, and he would probably destroy the lock. My sister used to burst my bedroom door open when I was in my room to try and scare me. When we were like 11 and 6 years old, we are now 19 and 14, so I once barricaded the door with a chair and other items as a joke to keep her out. Not even 5 minutes after doing that, I remember my dad burst in the room, literally almost kicking the door down, and yelled at me never to do that again, and then called a family meeting to say there will be no locks on doors and no barricading doors. So yeah, why can't OOP's mother kick the father out of the house? Reply: it's a very long story, mostly to do with religion. She doesn't believe in divorce unless adultery has occurred, as that's what her church believes, and she's very religious. There's very little he could do that would make her divorce him or even kick him out the house. By the way, the house is under her name because my dad's finances were so bad he was rejected from getting a loan when my parents bought this house, and she's been paying the mortgage for the past 8 months because he's been unemployed, but even that's not enough to get her to leave him. Commenter: that's awful. I read the previous posts and already thought he was a dickhead, but he's just a complete POS, isn't he? Camera and lock for your room perhaps? I'm sure your mother would understand you wanting a lock. I was hoping that perhaps you could find a place with just your mum and sister and leave your dad where he is. Reply: My mother recently bought this house, around 3 years ago, and it's my parents' first property. Her name is on the house as he had been denied a loan due to his finances not being straight, and my mother has been paying the mortgage on her own for the past 8 months or so since he's unemployed. She won't be able to afford to leave, rent another place for the three of us that is close to my sister's school, and also pay the 3.5k a month mortgage, unfortunately. Either he leaves or he stays, but we can't leave. Can OOP get a regular job that allows her to save money and get out of there? Reply: I do have a regular job, but I'm a full-time university student, so it's hard for me to keep my grades up while working many hours, so I have to limit the amount of hours I work. I don't usually keep cash on hand, I just didn't want to deposit it straight away because I would spend it, even if it was just $30 spending, and my bill was exactly $500, so I was going to deposit it today and pay today. But you're right, I'm never going to keep cash in my house again. I'm hoping this online business will be successful and I can have a steady flow of income to hopefully move out soon. Not staying in this house for much longer. OOP explains why her mother isn't reporting the domestic assault. Reply: I come from a culture where beating your kids is okay if it's for discipline purposes. When we say, oh yeah, we got the belt growing up, we actually mean we were beaten with a belt until we bled. So kicking a door down doesn't really constitute as domestic violence in my parents' and family's eyes. My father told me a story that one time him and his brothers took their dad's car for a joy ride without asking, and his dad beat my dad and uncle so badly they had to be taken to the hospital, and my dad had a broken arm, a broken rib, 2 black eyes and a broken nose. Also in my culture, men beat their wives all the time and women are expected to stay. Domestic abuse really doesn't exist in our culture. Stories number 20. Aita for not making my son apologize for teasing my stepdaughter. Me, 36F, and my husband Rob, 45M, live together with my kids, Caleb, 15M, and Angel, 11F, full-time. Their dad is flaky. Rob's daughter Katie, 16F, comes off every weekend. We are also expecting a baby boy in November. Katie is angry about our marriage and has made her displeasure known. She gives me and my kids the cold shoulder and only speaks to us when she is forced to. Rob and his ex were separated for about 2 years before divorcing, in no part to me. We knew each other socially through my brother, but we didn't start anything until his divorce was finalized. We got married fast 7 months after because I was honestly gun shy of wasting time without a commitment due to my kid's father stringing me along for years. I have spent the past year trying to make nice with Katie, but she continually frees us out. My daughter is shy, so she pretty much enjoy being on her own or hanging out with her friends. But Caleb doesn't like Katie and has called her a bitch and asshole behind her back, which I corrected. This week, my son had friends over and I guess he told them not to acknowledge her because they spent the whole time not looking at her and pretending she wasn't there. When she came into the door, they would pretend the door opened by itself and fake freaked out like it was a ghost. They ordered food and didn't order anything for her, and didn't share what they ordered. There was regular food in the house and she had a debit card, but she got pissed and called her dad, telling him what was going on. Caleb started laughing at her and called her a snitch, and that turned into a shouting match. At this point, I was coming home and got the story from Caleb and his friends. I sent the friends home and sent them both to their rooms to cool down. I felt things were settled, siblings fight, but it's not that deep. Rob came home heated and feels Caleb should apologize because he's bullying Katie. I told him if Caleb ignoring her was bullying, then Katie is the biggest bully in the house. I told him if he wanted an apology from Caleb and his friends, Katie needed to apologize also to me and my kids. He keep insisting that they boys went too far, but I'm over it and told him if Katie couldn't handle it she could stay home with her mom or he can spend weekends at a hotel with her alone. Aita for not making my son apologize. Stories number 21. My girlfriend talks in a baby voice and leans on me emotionally. I'm starting to fall apart. 27M27F. I've been with my girlfriend for 2 years. A few months into the relationship she started using this babyish, high-pitched, insecure tone when she talks to me. Especially when she's tired or unsure. Sometimes it even sounds like she's a little drunk. She only talks like this with me, never with friends or family. I get that it might be a way for her to feel safe with me, like she can let go and be herself. But for me it doesn't feel like connection. It feels like she stops communicating like an adult and I end up feeling more like a parent than a partner. I've brought it up probably 15 to 20 times over the past 2 years. Sometimes she gets upset, sometimes she apologizes. We've even had fights about it when I've been completely overwhelmed with work, my personal life and my business, just wanting to come home to a calm, stable space. She always promises to try, and she does for a few hours. But then it comes back again, like nothing was said. It's not just the voice. She wants me to tuck her in every night like a child. When we're trying to do simple things like learning a game or figuring out directions, she acts overly helpless. She gets irritated with me over small things too, like forgetting to wash a dish, even when I'm already overwhelmed. She also cries several times a week about not knowing what she wants in life. I always comfort her. I want to. I love her. But all of it together has started to wear me down. I feel like I always have to be the strong one. I never fully relax. I recently went on a solo trip for a week. I felt better. No stress symptoms. My body was calm. That's when I realized how much this dynamic is affecting me. I don't want to blame her for everything, but I'm scared about my own health. I feel emotionally drained and stuck. Is it possible to change this kind of relationship pattern, or is it a sign that we're just not a good match? TLDR, been with my girlfriend 2 years. She talks to me in a baby voice and often relies on me emotionally like a child. I support her but feel like I can never rest or be weak myself. I feel more like a parent than a partner and I'm starting to burn out. Stories number 22. Aita for wanting an abortion and going against my boyfriend and parents' wishes. Edit 2. I heard back from one of the funding organizations and they're willing to cover half of the cost of the procedure. I started crying on the phone because that's a huge relief taken care of. I felt like I was going to puke from nerves. I'm so relieved right now. 21F. Found out I was pregnant on Monday and it really came as a shock because I've been on birth control pills since I turned 18. I just finished my junior year of college and I'm set to graduate next spring, so having a baby is not something I planned on at all. My parents are not the type to help me. I've had to hide the fact I'm on birth control from my mom because she sees it as sinful. I live paycheck to paycheck and I'm already in debt for having student loans. My parents would never give me their tax information for FAFSA, so I had to take out both federal and private loans to pay for school because my parents gave me grief for wanting to go to a 2-year community college and not a 4-year college right out of high school. I live with 2 roommates now and just landed a part-time job at a smoothie place, and when the fall-spring semesters are in session, I'm a work-study. I can't work more than 29 hours a week at my job, so things have just been tight. My boyfriend is 26M and one of my roommates introduced us. We've only been together since February. He's met my parents and they really liked him. I missed my period for May and haven't had one for June yet and ended up taking a pregnancy test Monday morning. My head has been spinning and I decided to tell my boyfriend last night about this and my decision. His response was, "I can't believe you didn't tell me right away," and he seemed upset that I didn't tell him exactly when I got the positive pregnancy test. I was telling him I needed time to process it and he got kind of mad and said, "You kept a secret from me," and tried to end our conversation. I told him I wasn't done talking and we really needed to discuss this, and I told him that I am not ready to be a mom. I have a degree to finish and I want to eventually get my master's, and I make $11.72 an hour at Tropical Smoothie Cafe right now. I said I can't support a baby and his response was, "You don't think I can't take care of you both?" Which just made me feel like he wasn't listening to me at all and only thinking about what he wanted. I said I didn't want to stay pregnant and was looking at traveling out of state to get an abortion, and he got angry. He said we made a life and we have a responsibility to take care of it, and tried to tell me I couldn't get an abortion or we were over. I'm like, what the hell? We've only been dating 4 months, I've never met his family and he's only met my parents once, and while they liked him, we aren't married. My mom ended up telling me she was upset that I was dating at all, reminded me that having sex before marriage was a sin. I said no again, that being a mom isn't something I can do right now, and he got so angry and started yelling at me to the point where my roommate had to come in and make him leave. He called me a murderer, a stupid TCH, said he was going to make me regret this decision, and ended up texting not only both of my roommates but my parents too about everything. When I woke up this morning I had a bunch of texts from my parents, my dad saying I'm a disgrace and he and my mom won't support me anymore, the only bills of mine they pay are my car insurance and my cell phone bill. Now my roommate who introduced us is mad at me for being a drama queen when I didn't want anybody to know. I thought he would support me and not lose his cool and threaten me. My boyfriend texted me that I was killing an innocent life, and a bunch of other things I don't agree with. I feel trapped. Every part of me knows I'm not ready to bring a child into the world. I can barely pay rent and afford groceries some months without going to my campus food bank. I'm trying to finish school, and I know having a baby will ruin my future. I live in a very red state that has banned abortion pretty much. Neither of my roommates are willing or wanting to help because they don't want to get in the middle of my situation, and I know now my parents will be zero help or give me any support because of their conservative Christian beliefs. Now I have to get the appointments made. I've done some research and know what state I'll have to travel to and what clinic I'll be going to if they have availability. Travel out of state, take time off work and probably take out a payday loan or something to pay for it all so I don't ruin my life before my 22nd birthday. My mom has called me shameful, and she texted that she couldn't believe this is the path I choose, and how hurt she is by my decision. So it honestly feels like everyone around me is wanting me to keep this pregnancy, but I know deep down I really can't. Aita for wanting to get an abortion despite my boyfriend and parents being so against it, wanting me to keep the pregnancy. Edit. If everyone who's commented or private messaged me nasty shit like I'm a baby killer or a whore or some other gross message in my inbox, or weirdly asked me for nudes, you guys are gross, sent me $1, I'd have enough to either have the abortion in full or have some savings put away to actually raise a child. LMAO. The pro-life keyboard warriors are coming out, and I even have some people in my inbox offering to adopt the clump of cells they think is a baby. I do not want to have a child, not at 21, not now. I want to finish my degree and get a job that pays more than fast food. I know not everyone will agree with me, but it's what's best for me. I've made my initial appointment at a clinic and I will be calling organizations to get the funding for the abortion, traveling out of state, gas, hotel, etc. I plan on getting the abortion, even with the amount of hate I'm getting, because I know if I don't, I'm setting myself up for failure later on. Thank you to those who have offered help and kind words despite the jerks in my inbox. I have reached out to 2 organizations to help with funding and I'm waiting to hear back after getting the total cost of the abortion itself from the clinic. I will update when I can, but right now I'm just going to work on getting the funds together and moving on from this nightmare. Stories number 23. Aita for telling my colleague I hope he never finds a girlfriend. I, 25F, work a minimum wage job in a childcare center. My colleague, 25M, used to heavily flirt with me and be insistent, but told that I want him to stop the innuendos and seduction and treat me in a professional manner. He apologized and confessed that he was desperate to find a girlfriend. He is handsome, tall and goes to the gym, but he is so childish and badly socialized. His only hobby is watching soccer. I see why he finds one-night stands on Tinder but no girlfriend. I became his confidant and guide and I try to help him sometimes, but he constantly needs to be told what to do. At work he is irresponsible, gets carried away playing with the kids. I try to tell him what he does wrong, but he gets incredibly defensive and hurt even when I try to be considerate and soften the blow. He cuts me off with, I know, I'm such a bad person, I can't do anything right. His home is super messy and dirty. The cleanest is his PS5. He tells me all the time how he wishes he had a girlfriend, and I try to guide him to ways he could better himself to increase his chances. Many girls were interested but every single one of them ran away. Recently I got pissed off at him. A 10-year-old girl got her first period at the center and was confused and scared. I comforted her. He told her, no wonder you were angry today. I told him off and he got super defensive telling me, I did nothing wrong, just told the truth. It's just a fact. I was so sad for this poor little girl. We are supposed to empower, protect and guide children. He also joked at work about having an oopsie when his girlfriend got pregnant and had to terminate. He wasn't at all present because, it's her body not mine. I asked if he wore protection ever, he told me he never does because it feels less good and all women are on the pill anyway. 3 days ago, his card got rejected. I asked what's going on. He told me it's been 3 months since he got suspended from his bank for overdraft and ghosting the banker. He confessed he does a lot of online betting, €500 at a time, and invests a lot in crypto. Apparently, it's his 3rd time being suspended. Every time his mom tops up his account and calls the bank. He told me his mom pays his rent and utilities, does his grocery shopping, brings it and puts in his fridge. His mom is also the one to take his medical appointment, bring him there, pay. She fills out his administrative documents, calls. I told him this is not normal and he needs to get a grip. I asked how he intended to correct his shortcomings. He told me that basically, when he finds the right girl, he will make efforts and he will have no problems. I told him by the way he lives like a bum and exploits his mom, I hope to God he doesn't find a girlfriend. He got really hurt. I regret my words, I feel I lacked consideration and patience. So, Reddit, Aita, edit, thank you to all the gentle souls who worry about the little girl. I did notify our supervisor, an old man in a suit, but it just ended up being considered a small slip-up and, it happens, nothing we can do about that. Basically if it isn't a huge thing or a parent complaining directly to the upper-ups, nothing will happen. I gave her a pad, told her how to put it on, gave her a change of clothes for the stain and talked with her about her emotions and the big change. After his remark, I went back in and asked her how she felt and made sure she knew she should not to feel demeaned or bad or dirty but confident and in tune with her body and emotions. I am currently organizing a workshop for the older kids about puberty and periods, addressing the cliches and misinformation. He will be formally invited to participate. I asked that he be put on my team this particular day. Also, I put it down in a comment, but I don't know what I said or how I told the story that made people think right away I have sex with him. I agree the boundaries are all kinds of bad and that is my fault, but I am not interested in him this way and made it very very clear with him. We just got close as work friends and I admittedly I love helping and guiding, fixing, people, that is why I do this job, but it was in a holy move to take him on as project instead of putting down proper boundaries. You guys are right and that is my cue to leave the sinking ship. I snapped because I was losing patience and starting to get exhausted of the never-ending emotional labor but was uselessly trying to push ahead. And for what? So, yeah, I wouldn't lose much by putting a lot of distance and going back to being co-workers. On a different team now, I got promoted. Stories number 24. My girlfriend, 18F, is asking for me, 18M, to do more than the bare minimum. How do I do that? I, 18M, have been dating my girlfriend, 18F, for about 6 months now. She has recently sat me down and told me she's felt like I've been doing the bare minimum. She says that I have been lacking since around 2 months into our relationship in terms of the small things. I responded with, I write you love letters like every other week, and she said well that's the standard you set since we got together. She is also adamant that I don't buy her extravagant things. I've been planning to buy her a promise ring so now. I just don't know what else to do. I buy her flowers, write her letters, and am very present emotionally. I'm not a super crafty guy and am very bad with art so I've kinda ruled out the crafts. Now that she sat me down I feel like anything I do try to give her will be because she told me to do it and not out of love. Any advice? Edit. Sorry I've been at work since I posted this and want to add a couple things. She is very artsy and gives me plenty of homemade things. The thing is we had a pretty big argument because I fucked up, not cheating, and I told her that I would make it up to her. She's very sweet and cares about me a lot. We are both Catholic so commitment is a big thing for both of us. I am moving quite a bit of ways, like you should not drive and definitely fly far, but we have some visits planned for school breaks and a family wedding. The relationship isn't toxic and she's specifically told me not to buy her items. She's provided me with much more than I ever knew I needed. I'm more wondering what many consider the bare minimum and what I can do to be the best for her as she's done a lot and put up with a lot. Update, I talked to her yesterday, and she said bare minimum wasn't the word she should have used. She did go on to say, after some tears cause she said she didn't want me to feel bad, that it's just like the relationship is missing something and she couldn't put her finger on it. When I left she was quite upset as, it was a bad anxiety day and we didn't get much time together, and I profusely apologized and it went smooth. We usually call and say goodnight but I recently had oral surgery and take some painkillers during the night to help the pain so I don't wake up in pain, so I was pretty groggy. She told me not to call her cause she doesn't want to be on a time limit, and I said okay as she said this before but it truly means call me. I decided that night I was pretty emotionally and physically drained and too groggy to have a meaningful conversation so I just texted her goodnight. I wake up to a couple of texts like, I needed you tonight, I told you to take care of yourself so not your fault, I need to be more independent, and, I'm sorry I hold you down. I woke up and responded with, I'm here it's gonna be okay, but honestly this has been happening more and more frequently. That don't call me cause you need you time and then when I don't she's upset. Stories number 25. Aita for considering divorce over my husband's friend, me, 24F, and my husband, 24M, have been married for almost 2.5 years. We dated for 3.5 years before that, got together when we were 19, right after he finished Navy A school. Things were good early on. The problem is this one friend of his, 25F. They went to high school together and apparently had mutual crushes back then. She had a boyfriend at the time, for about 2 to 3 years, so nothing happened between them. But, she did flirt a lot and mentioned she wanted to hurt her boyfriend back because she chose to stay with him after he cheated on her, so she's reach out and flirt with my husband and it was mutual after the military, they were both single, and she told him she also had feelings for him but that's when I came into his life. He ultimately chose to be with me instead of pursuing her, but this woman has always been a point of tension. In the beginning of our relationship, he would compare me to her, and it really messed with my self-esteem. I didn't like her from the jump because of that. Eventually I gave him an ultimatum, her or me. He said he chose me and cut her off, except he didn't not really, he went behind my back multiple times to keep her in his life. He even vented to her about me. I reacted emotionally, yeah, I was hurt and angry. We fought about it. But then things quieted down, until recently, a few weeks ago, he went out with her for drinks at around 10 p.m. She told him she had dinner plans with her mom, so I guess drinks came after that. He ended up taking her to a coffee shop afterward. She had Ubered there, so he felt obligated to drive her back to her place. He knew I wouldn't be okay with that, but did it anyway. Before she got out of the car, she literally said, "I'd invite you in, but I know I put your wife through a world of hell tonight." Like, what? Who says that? She's baited him before too, once told him she was scared to live alone, which I brought up to him, and she always finds ways to keep a connection going. When I express discomfort, he dismisses it. He tells me I'm delusional or too emotional because I didn't have serious relationships before him. It's honestly make me feel gaslit. After that hangout, he insisted I meet her to ease the tension. So we went out, me, him, and her, for dinner and hookah. She was nice to my face, and even invited us to her family's cabin. But a few days later, she texted him saying it felt weird to be around us as a couple. We never went out with her again. Every plan after that fell through, either she bailed, or we said no because my husband doesn't like large crowds, so a parade costume party was too much, but he said given her a maybe. Fast forward to now. He says she's acting unlike herself and wants to see her again to check in and hang out one-on-one. He even told me that if he can't hang out at her place, then what's the point of the friendship? I said absolutely not. After a long argument, I stupidly agreed to let him hang with her in public for an hour. Since then, he's been swiping up on her stories and complimenting her. He says it's harmless. But I've also caught him in shady behavior with other women before, like a classmate, 20F, from an online class. He didn't tell her he was married, and when he finally did, she ghosted him. When I called that out as an emotional affair, he denied it. There have been other instances which I won't list since we've worked on it and moved past them. Every time I bring up my concerns, he gaslights me, says it's in my head, that I need to grow up. He claims he doesn't have feelings for this girl, but also admits she was his first love and that she means a lot to him. I've stuck it out for 7 years. I just graduated, and we were talking about starting a family soon. But he still has trouble calling me beautiful, still talks about having FOMO over other women during fights, and even when I catch him staring at women, I brush it off. We haven't been smooth sailing, and he tells me it's my fault because of my doubts in trusting him and picking fights out of the blue. I love him. Truly. I don't see myself with anyone else. But I'm also realizing, I don't want this to be the rest of my life. Aita for finally considering divorce? Or am I being too emotional? I need outside perspective. Please be honest. Stories number 26. Is my 31F boyfriend, 30M, correct that my standards are too high? My boyfriend, 30M, and I, 31F, have been together almost 4 years. Living together for just under 2 years. I am just going to get straight into it. He plays upwards of 40 hours of video games a week. This is obviously a problem. He works maybe 25 to 35 hours a week, I work close to 50 hours a week. I do 95% of the cooking and probably 80% of the cleaning. I am also the official-unofficial task manager of the household. If we are about to run out of toilet paper, I will have to be the one to remember to buy more. If we are running low on cat food, I will be expected to run to the store to get it. Same goes for just about anything else. It's always on me to get it done and to remember to get it done. I like to clean the bathroom once a week. I like to vacuum once a week. We own 2 cats that shed quite a bit, so I think at least once a week is appropriate. I like to do dishes daily. I like to change the sheets at least twice a month every 2 weeks. I like to do laundry once the hamper is full. I like to scoop the litter boxes daily. I like to buy groceries before running out of them. I like to mop the floors every 2 weeks. He will let his laundry pile up until it takes over the entire bedroom floor. He will leave dirty dishes on his gaming desk for weeks. He won't cut his toenails for months, not even after he literally slices my legs when laying in bed. He cuts his hair once a year at most. He showers only twice a week on average. Despite this, surprisingly enough, he is genuinely a good-looking guy. And even a very nice guy. But insanely lazy. He tells me my standards are insane and that I need to learn how to relax instead of always cleaning. Well, I am always cleaning because he doesn't help with anything. Unless prompted. And even then, it is a hassle. I have officially become his second mom, it feels like. It's like asking a teenage boy to clean his room and just whining and complaining about it the whole time. He has always been like this. His family teases him about it. He will forget to buy a gift for family birthdays or will forget other important dates. I try to help but I have a lot of my own shit going on and I am exhausted. I have brought it up several times and am always met with the same, well you expect too much from me, followed by shame. Then comes the promises to change. Then comes a complete lack of action. Like dude. I work significantly more, work out daily, shower daily, cook dinner daily, schedule various appointments, and basically manage every damn other thing, and he can't manage to complete one load of laundry in a day. He always says, well I am allowed to play games. At the expense of his girlfriend having to do everything to the point of not having time for her own hobbies. Seems fair. He neglects his health as well. Has not even had a checkup at the doctor for years. Has not seen a dentist in years. He will wear the same pair of contacts way longer than he should and complains about his eyes being itchy or irritated and dry. We have an issue with mold in the bathroom and I have tried everything to fix it but it keeps coming back. It's an old house. He owns it, I just pay my part of bills so I have no say in getting a professional to come in and fix it. He says he doesn't have money to fix it but constantly spends money on dumb shit like mini bikes, car stereo systems, other useless car accessories, fast food, and video games. I just can't do it anymore. Am I actually fucking insane? Edit. I have considered mental illness as a reason for this but I honestly do not think this is it. I am diagnosed with depression, anxiety, OCD, and ADHD but I still manage. I have learned how to manage it for the sake of making my life easier and less chaotic. I am willing to help him with the same but he absolutely refuses. Stories number 27. Aita for slapping a kid for touching me inappropriately. I am 20F and was at wedding reception of my cousin, bride. As in our wedding, close relatives often join the couple on stage and there was her husband's cousin, standing besides me who is 12. I felt he touched my backside couple of times. I thought it was by mistake and let it go and stage was little crowded. But next time he pinched me and tried to finger in between. It was deliberate. I fumed in anger and slapped him hard that he felt down on stage. Everyone was shocked and said why I did this. I told clearly that their kid must be pawn addict, as he was touching me inappropriately. They said it isn't possible and blah blah. But the bride and my side of family stood by me. Though some later didn't, who weren't there. Bride's mother. But the groom's family is angry, as they said I am lying and doing for attention. They are demanding an apology and I said on my grave maybe I told them that I taught their potential wrist son a lesson for life. They are pissed that I slapped the golden child son of the groom's uncle. Who is their only child and took birth after years of marriage. The tension in two families is high. And I have been called new modern toxic girl. But I am not going to apologize to that brat. He was lucky that my own brother and dad, both army men, weren't there. Who would have thrown him in the garbage bin for touching me? I know how we stopped them going to their house to give lessons to that family. A 12-year-old knows what is wrong or right touch. They said they will file police report and I said I will file sexual assault case and shame your kid everywhere. They backed off. Anyways slap police reports go nowhere lol. But my cousin's mom said her daughter started on rough side and I should cool down the waters. I refused. She is mad. Aita for slapping a kid, even if he is wrong. Words don't affect men here much. Actions do. They think they can take liberty on women who don't dress modestly. I dress boldly. That doesn't mean men get to touch me wrongly. Stories number 28. Aita for telling a woman I can only help her if her son is dead or dying. I work for our national paramedicine organization. I'm not a paramedic though, I'm trained in first response and don't work the trucks but have an app that alerts me to incidents within a certain radius, so I basically only respond to cardiac arrests. I'm not trained in a lot of ways, but I'm really good at CPR and defibrillation. Other than that I can deal with severe life-threatening bleeds, breaks, burns, and breathing, choking or anaphylactic shock. I was at the chemist waiting in line picking up my sick wife's prescription and a woman came in and walked straight up to the chemist busy with a prescription and just started talking at him. She had her adolescent son with her. He told her to wait but she just pretended not to hear him and kept talking. I was in uniform and had just finished a tiring shift and he looked at me with a, I don't know what to do about her help me, face. So I just gave him a smile and nod of approval to serve her. He started getting her script ready and she said to him, also my son needs a flu vaccination. The chemist said to her, I'm sorry but I'm not trained to give vaccinations to 12 and under. She pushed him with, oh he is 12, and he replied with, yes but I can't vaccine 12 and under. This back and forth carried on with her getting more and more pushy until she finally caved and said, well the other chemist I've been to does it so can you just do it? He politely repeated himself and she threw her hands up in the air and then looked to me for support, yeah FKN right. She then marked my uniform and said, "Well, if you just get the vaccine ready, I'm sure he can do it." Don't know why, it was just the first reply that came to my head and she had really irritated me, so I looked her dead in the eye and said, "I'm sorry ma'am, I can only help if your kid is dead or dying in front of me, and honestly he looks fine to me. The reason I'm worried I was an asshole is because both of their eyebrows went up in shock," and then she looked horrified. She grabbed her script off the chemist and walked off, grabbing her kid's arm and shaking her head. I could tell the chemist was trying not to laugh, but he was obviously initially also shocked. I was in uniform, so I'm worried I've misrepresented my organization and might get in trouble too. Was I too casual about death with her? Should I have replied more professionally or in a different way? She was deeply offended. Am I an asshole for saying that? Stories number 29. Aita for pressing charges on my uncle at a family barbecue. I have an allergy to peanuts and none of my family is willing to accommodate my allergy, and when I break out in hives my urge to skin pick is awful. I went through therapy and tried a lot of things, but I found that compression gloves and sports sleeves help the best because although it itches I don't feel as if I need to rip my skin off. So on Wednesday I arrived at the family cookout about 20 minutes before most everyone had to help my uncle set up things, and when I got there he had most everything set up. I had already been wearing my sleeves as I knew there would be peanuts on the tables and I would come in contact with stuff that would begin to make me itchy. Throughout the meal I kept hearing sideways comments about, "Why do they always wear those sleeves?" And I tried to explain that it was to help with my skin picking habits. However, it seemed as if no one on my mother's side of the family would believe me, as it couldn't be possible because I am a spitting image of my mother, her genes couldn't possibly have done that, and no one on her side had a peanut allergy. I stayed to my hot dogs and such on the couch in the garage. About 2 hours and my very clearly drunk uncle started throwing peanuts at my face to test if I was really allergic to them or a liar, and moments later I began to swell in the face. I went to reach for my bag for my AP pen and realized my AP pen was nowhere to be found. Turns out before testing their experiment they took my AP pen, just to make sure that I wasn't playing it up. I immediately called 911, making sure to tell them my full name and address before I was too swollen to speak properly. My aunt, who'd been in the house during this whole debacle, came outside, snatched the EpiPen out of my uncle's hand and administering it to me just before I went unconscious. The police arrived very shortly thereafter, as we were about 4 city blocks from the police and EMS station, and I was promptly wheeled off in a stretcher. After giving my statement in the hospital I decided to press charges because everything felt as if it had intent. My mother says I'm in the wrong and he was just being a drunk jerk, but this isn't the first time he's put my life in danger. Stories number 30. Aita for refusing to allow my stepdaughter to use one of my cars and telling her to get a job and buy one instead. My husband and I have a 5-year-old son together, and he has an 18F daughter, Sally, from his previous marriage. Sally is an entitled, manipulative young lady who has spent her entire life milking the child of divorce card in order to make her parents feel bad for her and give her everything she wanted. As a result, she is now a lazy adult, has poor grades in school, no perspective, no job, no desire to get a job or do something with her life. Although my husband and her bio mom are both responsible for how she turned out, instead of coming together and work towards helping her do something, they prefer to blame each other, and they do everything they can to undermine the other one. For example, if my husband punishes Sally by not giving her spending money, her mom will immediately throw money at her. If her mom takes her car away as a punishment, my husband will immediately give her his car to use to go places. It's a very strange dynamic they have, and very different of what he has with me. When I asked him why he is so different in terms of parenting my son with me versus Sally with her bio mom, he said I am his wife and I am a normal, sane woman who he can actually communicate with. Whatever, I feel like they are both wrong, but Sally is not my daughter and I am happy I don't have to spend too much time with her. Now that the summer break started, Sally has the most important problem in the world. Her car broke and she needs one to use this summer to go places, meet her friends, go to parties, etc. Her mom is not willing to give her car because she needs it to go to work. My husband needs his car to go to work and neither of them is willing to buy her a new one. So Sally the genius found the perfect solution and asked me to give her one of my cars. To be clear, I have 2 cars, a big SUV that was given to me by my employer and a smaller one that I use when I go into town because it's easier to park. I refused and I told her she can't use any of my car. She insisted and said I don't need 2 cars at the same time, but she needs one to get around. I told her she is free to use the public transportation or get a job and buy one herself. Now Sally is going around to my husband's relatives complaining that I am trying to exploit her and send her to work. I had a good laugh about this with my husband's sister, but my MIL claims I could have just refused instead of telling her to get a job. I am a little confused what it's so bad about telling an adult to get a job. It's not like I sent a 12-year-old to work for her food or anything. Stories number 31. AIO that I'm upset because my husband took credit for a retaining wall I built. Today my husband had a contractor over her to look at shoring up our hill and building some stairs. The contractor commented on the good quality of 20 feet by 3 feet retaining wall that's already there but mentioned that if it didn't have a concrete base and 4-inch of gravel below it would fall down in a couple years. I smiled and said no worries, it has those. I built them. The contractor looked surprised. I'm a 41-year-old working mom of 3, and I don't exactly look like a contractor. He said, but I don't know how you got all those concrete blocks and bags of materials up the hill. The area of the retaining wall is up a pretty steep climb. My husband was there and he sort of snort-laughed and said, because she had me to help her. And the contractor and his 2 helpers laughed and nodded like they understood. Of course they took that to mean he did all the work. The thing is, we bought this fixer-upper on an unstable hill because my husband wanted to be Mr. Fix-It, but after we got here it was all too much for him and he couldn't even look at anything that needed reno. I have been divorced before, lost everything, and didn't want to lose this investment as well, so I adjusted by learning how to fix things. It's not that hard, now that you have YouTube. And my legs and arms have been getting a great workout even while my gym membership languishes. When my husband has, rarely, felt up to it, I've asked him to help me carry some concrete blocks up the hill. He's carried 4 to 5 of the 30 or so. He also carried up one of my 2 to 94 pounds bags of mortar up there. I carried the other. I guess that was what he meant. I'm 130 pounds, he's 6 feet 3 inches, and 230. I've spent countless hours in the sun digging trenches, pouring gravel, building concrete forms, carrying bucket after bucket of water to mix concrete and then afterwards mortar when I was laying the blocks, all alone or with my kids, helping me for fun while he is inside relaxing. I get right away that he is embarrassed about all I'm doing. This isn't the only project, and he needs to validate himself in front of some men, but this takes away from me, no. I thought I was being an awesome wife by learning to do stuff myself instead of asking for help, and asking for help from him only when I know it's very limited or an area that he's really good at, then complimenting him a lot on his contribution. I do this. But this bothers me. He loves cooking, but I can't imagine taking credit when I help him chop a couple beans before a meal and he does the rest. All I ever do is compliment him. This really bothers me. And it's not the first time. I renovated our bathroom, demo, new cement board walls, waterproof, drywall other areas, tile walls and floor, baseboards, and he made a similar comment to the plumber based on the fact that he spent 1 to 2 hours securing the screws for the alcoves I built. I never try to embarrass him, but I've worked too hard for this implication that he really did it for me. Stories number 32. Aita for leaving my sister's wedding early after she made me wear a neon green bridesmaid dress. Okay, I know that title sounds dramatic, but hear me out. I, 24F, was a bridesmaid in my older sister's, 28F, wedding last weekend. She's super into aesthetic themes, which is fine, but her chosen color scheme was neon green and hot pink. Think 2000s Nickelodeon slime meets Barbie's clubbing era. When I first saw the dress she picked for me, I thought it was a joke. It was this highlighter green satin thing that clung in all the wrong places and made me look like a walking glow stick. I asked her nicely if I could maybe wear a darker green or literally anything else, but she said no because it would ruin the vibe. Okay. Her wedding, her rules. I sucked it up. Fast forward to the day of the wedding. The ceremony goes fine, but the dress? It's attracting actual bugs. I'm sweating like I'm in a sauna. And people are staring. Not in the, ah how pretty way, but more like, did she lose a bet? Then during the reception, one of my sister's friends drunkenly calls me Shrek's prom date, within earshot of like 10 people. Everyone laughs. My sister hears it and laughs too. No, hey that's my sister, no, don't be rude. Just straight up cackling. I was so embarrassed and honestly hurt. I smiled through it, but after the first dance, I quietly told her I wasn't feeling great and left early. Now she's mad. She says I abandoned her on the most important day of her life, and that I made it all about me by leaving. Even our mom is saying I should have just stayed and powered through because it's not that deep. But I wasn't trying to make a scene. I didn't even say anything to anyone. I just didn't want to keep standing around being the neon laughing stock. So, Aita for dipping out early after being humiliated in a dress I hated from the start. Update, Aita for leaving my sister's wedding early after she made me wear a neon green bridesmaid dress. Hi again. First off, thank you to everyone who commented, upvoted, or even just quietly thought, damn, poor girl. I didn't expect the post to blow up, but y'all made me feel way less crazy for walking out of that wedding looking like radioactive string cheese. So, a lot has happened since I posted. My sister saw the Reddit post. Yep. Someone sent it to her. I don't know if it was a cousin, a frenemy, or one of her hot pink bridesmaids, but she called me the next morning livid. said I, publicly embarrassed her, and that I made the wedding look like a joke. I told her, very calmly, that she did that all by herself with the Nickelodeon color palette and by laughing when someone called me Shrek's prom date. We argued. Not gonna lie, I cried. She cried. I think she was more hurt that I didn't pretend to enjoy myself, and I was hurt that she didn't care how uncomfortable I felt the entire time. I asked her flat out, would you have stayed if the roles were reversed? Her silence said everything. Our mom is still in keep the peace mode and said maybe we both overreacted. But guess who texted me later that day? The drunk friend who made the Shrek joke. She apologized. Apparently, she didn't realize it would hit so hard and said she thought we were all in on the same vibe. Spoiler, we were not. Also, and this is the funny part, one found out that another bridesmaid left early too. She didn't say anything because she didn't want to be rude, but she felt like a walking glow stick too. So I guess I wasn't alone in my highlighter pain. As for my sister and I were taking space. We haven't talked much this week. I don't hate her, but I think we both need a breather before we pretend everything's fine at family dinners. TLDR, sister found the Reddit post. Drama happened. Shrek joke friend apologized. Another bridesmaid also dipped. Still glowing, literally and emotionally, but standing my ground. And yes, I did burn the dress. Okay, no, I didn't. But I might use it as a Halloween costume. Radioactive regret. Stories number 33. Wibta for not letting my sister-in-law redo her ruined gender reveal at my birthday party. So, I'm turning 24 next week and I planned this chill backyard barbecue for my birthday. Nothing huge, just friends, burgers, a cute little cake, and maybe some corny dancing once people get tipsy enough. Here's where the weird part comes in. My sister-in-law, husband's sister, recently had a gender reveal party that honestly went straight into the cringe hall of fame. They ordered one of those big black balloons full of colored powder, except when her husband popped it, nothing came out. Like, zero. Nada. The balloon just deflated sadly while everyone stood there awkwardly clapping at the sound of failure. Anyway, I felt bad for her, sure. But now she's asking if she can just do a small redo of the reveal at my birthday party. I laughed at first because I thought she was joking. Spoiler, she wasn't. She said since family will already be there, it just makes sense and would bring some excitement to the day. I told her nicely, I swear, that I kind of wanted my birthday to be, about my birthday. She got all pouty and said I was being selfish and that it's just one little moment. My husband is staying out of it like it's a Hunger Games situation and he doesn't want to get reaped. I just don't want my day hijacked by confetti cannons and awkward cheering while everyone pretends they didn't already find out it's a boy on Facebook last week. Yeah, she accidentally posted it early. So. Wibta if I told her no. I don't want to sound mean, but I kind of feel like my once-a-year celebration shouldn't turn into a sequel to her balloon fail. Okay, I wasn't expecting so many comments. Also I should clarify, she really did post, it's a boy, the same night her original reveal flopped, so it's not even a surprise anymore. But now she wants to do a new reveal with cupcakes or something. Girl, I just want ribs and cake. Update, Wibta for not letting my sister-in-law redo her ruined gender reveal at my birthday party. Hey everyone. Just wanted to give a little update since my post kinda blew up, and made me laugh way more than I expected. Y'all are hilarious. So. The barbecue birthday bash happened yesterday. Let's start with the good. My friends showed up, the ribs were perfect, my cake said, it's MY Day, in giant pink letters like some of you suggested, and the vibes were exactly what I hoped for: lawn chairs, cold drinks, bad dancing, and no small children running around with frosting in their ears. Now for the spicy part. As predicted, my sister-in-law did not give up on the gender reveal sequel idea. She showed up with a tray of cupcakes. I already had a feeling. The way she was holding them like they were the crown jewels. Yeah, no. I pulled her aside and, politely, said something like, hey, I know you put effort into those but I really want today to be just about the birthday. We all saw the Facebook post, there's no mystery left. She got that tight smile people do when they're trying not to yell in public and said, wow, I didn't think cupcakes would be so controversial. I shrugged and said, well, they're not, unless they come with an unsolicited plot twist. She sulked for a bit. My husband tried to step in and smooth things over but honestly, I didn't let it ruin my day. She ended up setting the cupcakes down on the table and didn't make an announcement or anything, but about halfway through the party, people were like, hey, these cupcakes are filled with blue icing, and I had to do my best, surprised face. So yeah. She tried to sneak it in. But everyone already knew and honestly, no one really reacted. It was the most anticlimactic gender reveal round 2 ever. Someone literally said, "Oh cute," and then asked me to pass the potato salad. I think the best part is that my cousin brought a balloon that said, "It's a girl," for me. As in, it's my day, back off. I died laughing. Sal did not. Anyway, no massive blow-ups, no screaming matches, just a little passive-aggressive frosting and a lot of laughter. I got my birthday, she got her awkward cupcakes, and life moves on. Thanks again to everyone who hyped me up and gave solid advice. I'm saving the glitter bomb idea for next year. TLDR, Sal tried it, I shut it down. Cupcakes got served. So did boundaries. Stories number 34. I accidentally planned a vacation to the wrong spot and let my family believe we were in the correct spot. I am a planner. So when we take vacations, I am told a destination and I come up with everything. No complaints there. Well, last year, my husband and his dad suggested we go to the Ozarks. Sounds fun. So I created a whole rough itinerary, found a great condo for the week, planned the route. Everything was set and we headed to the Ozarks. Except, I mistakenly thought Branson was in the Ozarks. I looked at a map multiple times and there was even a small town named Ozark north of Branson, so I just assumed that's where the name came from. We get to Springfield, Missouri and I see a billboard for a Lake of the Ozarks attraction, but the billboard gives a direction completely different than where we are headed. So we get back in the car and I do a quick Google search. I'm wrong. And my family would have laughed it off. No biggie. But it would have meant relentless teasing for the next year, especially when I planned the next vacation. So I kept quiet. All week, I was being sent TikToks of different things of what to do in the Ozarks. They'd look into it, but couldn't ever find info for nearby. I just brush it off. Oh, weird. Well, I found something similar, let's go here. Anyways, it's been a year, and my husband mentioned we should go back to the Ozarks again. And shows me all this cool stuff he found. I am probably going to have to admit that we never went. ETA, apparently the joke is that I spent the last year thinking I was an idiot and planned a vacation to the wrong spot, but Branson is in the Ozarks. Apparently there's a difference between the Lake of the Ozarks and the more broad-term Ozarks. So I guess I was wrong about being wrong. Branson was still trash though. Stories number 35. Aita for calling out my boyfriend in front of his mom for pretending he cooks when it's actually me. I, 21F, have been dating my boyfriend, 24M, for over a year, and we moved in together a few months ago. He's sweet, funny, and does take care of stuff around the house, except cooking. That's all me. Breakfast? Me. Dinner? Me. Leftovers magically turned into something new? Also me. And I actually enjoy cooking, so it's not a big deal. Or at least it wasn't. The thing is, whenever his mom visits or we go to her house, he brags about all these meals he made. Like he'll say, "Oh yeah, that garlic butter salmon. I threw that together in like 20 minutes, or I made her this chili from scratch last week, she loved it." I'm just standing there next to him like, "What chili?" "I made that while you were on the couch watching YouTube videos about motorcycles." At first, I let it slide because I thought maybe he just wanted to look good in front of his mom. But last weekend, we had dinner with his family and he fully leaned into the chef-boyfriend act. His mom literally hugged him and said, "I'm so glad you found someone who inspires your passion for cooking," and I just snapped. I said, "Actually, I'm the one who cooked all those meals." He can barely boil water without asking if it's supposed to bubble. He looked super embarrassed, and his mom just kind of blinked at us. He got quiet for the rest of the night and later told me I embarrassed him and made it weird with his family. I told him if he wants credit, he should start actually cooking. I didn't yell, I didn't curse, I just finally said what was true. But now he's being weird about it and our mutual friend says I could have handled it privately instead of in front of his mom. So now I'm wondering. Aita for finally calling him out at dinner. I didn't want to be petty, but I was tired of standing there like his sous chef with no name. Also, side note, he still hasn't made anything since. Not even toast.